Hello everybody, welcome to Frame Trap, a show where we primarily talk about video games and sometimes anything else we're interested in. I'm here today with Brandon Jones.
Hello.
Kyle Bossman.
Hi.
Ian Hink.
Hi.
And I am your host, Ben Moore. A quick little explanation. This episode is coming to you a little later than expected. We had some very significant camera problems, I think that's fair to say. So we had to go out and buy a new camera. This is the first time we're using this camera. I am shaking because I hope it looks okay. I hope it sounds okay. Ian gave it a very, very, very thorough looking over.
It should be good. It's got HDR, so we can't control the image
right
now.
I say you just point that Ian finger as much
But
as
if you
can.
got it 4K TV,
Well,
it's
when
going to look
Ian
great.
set up this shot.
Apparently,
Last time I
think
saw
it'll look
Ian
good.
messing around with the mixer, it was set it around.
Well, that's
That
the
wasn't
other thing,
that
like,
wasn't me pointing my finger at you. That
new
was
audio
I
setup,
trust you.
New camera setup. This will also be our streaming camera.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll be better.
I say we get a couple
Hopefully
of
it's
these.
in focus. Yeah, I think we should get another one. I think we should get that black
You could
magic
fit
thing.
4 of these cameras in our old camera, so I like that.
You actually could.
Without going into this story too much, Jones, we were here a lot on Sunday trying to figure all this stuff out. We're here today trying to figure all this stuff out. We've got a group stream after this.
Yeah.
We got a podcast after this.
And then I'm cutting the podcast after that.
This
long
is
day.
this is not an exaggeration. This is what happened to me. Last night, I woke up at like 3 a.m. I was a little bit nervous about all the stuff that we had to do today.
Mm-hmm.
And then a thought just randomly snuck into my head. I said, we are in Brandon Jones's life all the time.
Yeah.
He can't get rid of us.
It's true.
How does that make you feel?
It's a good thing. I mean, you're my friends, and so
Yeah.
I like having my friends over. It's fun. Like that's like the one thing that it's impossible for you to know how I feel about all of these allies, and it's impossible to understand the concept of driving to my house. Like I will never.
Right.
That whole vibe of just like, okay, do I have all the stuff I need? Okay, time to commute to work. Like
Right.
I don't
think
have
you
that.
you might need to explain the word friend to Kyle.
Right.
He doesn't.
What is friend?
Are
People
there?
you take advantage of.
Hopefully by the end of this podcast, we'll figure it out, Kyle.
I don't want to feel like I'm reaching for something, but if it were me, if I were you, I would definitely have a moment, maybe once a month, where I'd be like, I want them to get out of here. Do you have that?
No, because I would have that if I had to be in everything. But something like the last Frame Trap, I wasn't in it, and so
Right. You were
I
just
was able
editing
to.
Horizon.
I was able to work on Horizon. Like I was actually thinking, I didn't end up doing it, but I was like, I might take a nap because like I don't know how late I'll be up tonight working on Horizon. So the tabletop is classic nap time. It's like, all right,
Classic.
because like they're gonna be in there for 5 hours, you know.
I gotta say, I think the only time I've seen it surface is Huber's Vinegar.
Oh, right. Before
Well, yeah.
the show, we got to explain that.
The left objects is I think the only thing that I'm just like, come on, you know. If it's like the third time some object gets left behind, it's
Yeah.
like, ugh,
What are the
especially
most...
if it's a foreign object that's not like a present that was open, because that's one thing. If like we got a lot of weird presents, was that your Pokemon statue or mine? I don't know. You know, stuff gets left
Right.
behind.
Was that your spider in resin? You know?
Did you ever look at it?
No.
It's vile.
It's pretty awesome.
Never will.
So just to be clear, Huber has brought a bottle of vinegar into Jones's home and refuses to take it
The
home.
vinegar came into the home, left the home,
Yeah.
came back,
He brought it for the diorama
came out of the
episode.
bag onto a shelf.
Yeah.
I while it was there was like, vinegar, what? And he was like, oh yeah, that's mine. Then leaves it. Then comes back for another shoot. I remind him of the vinegar, notes the vinegar, leaves it again.
Yeah. But what gets me is that he took it out of the place in his backpack, and then a week later came back, took it out of the backpack for some reason, and now it's been here for 2 weeks.
One of the things I'm looking forward to in 2017, if we stick around this place and you know don't get an office right away, is like cubby holes. You know, maybe like have like a shelf thing over there with everybody's name and tape at the front, like Kyle. You know, it's like
I would
it's like,
love a
it's like where you
cubby.
get your craft supplies.
Yeah.
You know,
Huber's
and you just
little,
go.
little rain booties.
If you get little presents and stuff, you go over, you put it in your cubby hole.
Oh my god.
That's a really
and then
good idea,
and you
Jones.
check your cubby hole, and then if at the end, if I go by and there's something in somebody's cubby hole, I'm taking a picture of it, I'm tweeting it.
They should always be
That's
referred to
appropriate.
as cubby hole. Never just cubby, just
And
always
then-
cubby hole.
When we have our little meeting after the group stream before
Yeah.
the podcast, Brandon goes, this week, you left it in your cubby.
Huber the vinegar
Right,
has
you're
been
group
in the
stream.
cubby
What's
hole.
this? What's this?
What's this?
I don't know.
Can't get over cubby hole, man.
Like when you made the ships, like one of the little edges of Brad's pirate ship fell off, and I just saw it on the ground. I'd love to just hold that up and be like, "Hey, Brad, what the hell's this? What the
hell
it's
is
like
this?
that big, you know?
Brad, I found this on the floor. It's going in the cubbyhole. Just so you know,
I'm
it's gonna
putting
be
this in
gonna
your
be
cubbyhole,
gonna be the
Brad.
ultimate cubbyhole.
Why do you need to know? Anyway.
I'm ready.
Brandon, I do want to start with you for what have you been playing?
Okay.
Because you are the only ally that has played a final retail version
Yes.
of a Horizon Zero Dawn. It is a game that is getting a ton of hype,
Yeah.
and I want you to just throw it at me. All of your thoughts, stream of consciousness. Let's go. Because
This is it? I do it now?
This is the time.
this is the time because I feel like I've been watching videos of Horizon.
Yeah.
I feel like I've had previews explain to me things about Horizon, but there's still a part of me that feels as though I don't have a great understanding of the whole experience.
I think one of the reasons why, of the reviews that I have done recently, there are a lot of don't show this, don't show that, don't talk about this specific cutscene, this specific mission by name, don't show this. So there's a lot to that story. And unfortunately, all of the stuff that you haven't seen that I cannot directly talk about is the best stuff in the game. And that's one of the... I was actually very surprised to find out that my score was like a little bit under a lot of what other people had scored it. And those are based on two concerns. One, you pick up a lot of things in this game. So there's like one item, a component called wire that you need for the rope caster. The rope caster... if you shoot it at an enemy, it will connect them to the ground, and you can actually see the rope. So you can see, like, if the rope is going from here to there, they can't move that way because they're stuck to the ground. They can move anywhere else around that thing. And so if you rope them someplace else, that maybe kind of pins them where they're at. You know, if you rope them in, you know, north, south, east, west, they can't move because they're always being pulled in a specific direction. If you rope something, also it'll start filling up a meter. That when that fills, it'll totally take them out. They'll fall over, and they'll be cabled to that for like a minute, for like a really long time. So it's a good way to like isolate enemies. If you have two guys coming at you, you can take them out. I never was not hungry for wire the entire playthrough. Even like right before the end, I was out of wire. I was like, and I'm like, I gotta go back and like get stuff. Jones loves that stuff. Like, you know, twist my arm, make me go back to some forest, kill a bunch of turkeys because I need, you know, the fatty meat to make the potions because potions are expensive and I don't have, you know, I want to spend money on buying a better outfit than spending that on potions. I'll do that all day. But as I was doing it, playing the game, I'm like, I don't know if everyone else would. If I could give everybody kind of the blanket, you know, review score that says like, yes, you're picking up a lot of things, but it's fun. It's fun for me. I wasn't totally convinced that would be fun for everybody else.
So it's like blood vials. You got to go farm it sometimes.
Yes. And that's, to me, was like required because it was, I needed fatty meat for potions and I needed wire for the rope caster. Potions, super key. Rope caster, you know, that needs to be in your arsenal. That's like the main kind of just, I can take something down with this weapon and not worry, I can take down a machine with this weapon, not worry about it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you weaving the wire into a rope-like
Yeah.
shape?
Yes.
You have that skill.
But it's metal. It's metal rope.
It's, no, it's like, it's specifically wire that you take from robots.
Right,
and then
right.
you like use that to create the cables that the rope caster shoots.
Okay. Yeah, they're more like cables then.
Yeah.
I'm
Brandon,
just
that
taking issue with the word rope.
A theme of a lot of the
Oh,
previews.
the rope caster. Yeah. The names are interesting.
A theme of a lot of the previews is they described how you could have these pretty elaborate moments where you do set up this awesome trap and the
Yes.
satisfaction you get
Yes.
of getting these giant beasts into
Right.
that trap. In a lot of games, I've kind of seen that where they say, "Oh man, you can get so creative and set up these elaborate machinations, but then you just don't need to."
Yeah.
When it's like, well, I could just shoot it in the face,
Yep.
and that's going to save me a lot of time.
Yeah.
I like it when a game makes that planning feel worth it. Is that true here?
It feels worth it. It's rewarding in regards to the fact that it's effective. It's easy, like everything's easy to understand and see in the environment. So if you like set up a trap, it's not like, where'd that trap go? Or like, where's he gonna walk? It's easy to see like, he's going back and forth this way. I can set that trap up right in front of him. Mm-hmm. That's really rewarding. Not in a sense of like, boy, I finally figured out how to do that. Like there weren't a lot of fights where it's like, I'm missing the strategy here. It's like, I just gotta move more, dodge more. Not run over there because 5 more machines join the fight when I do. To me, the satisfaction was just seeing these things get pissed, seeing that like the elemental effects in this game are incredible, like seeing them light on fire and start jumping around because they're so angry, or like seeing them bump into a trap and this huge cloud of electricity just flies out of them. So that was rewarding, seeing your plans come to fruition, but there was no fight where if I set up like a tripcaster wire and then a trap behind that, and then like had another thing where I like maybe early on when I only had like 5 or 6 ammo types, and I was just kind of like, okay, I just got to keep pelting this thing with fire arrows and maybe trap it every now and then. But by the end of the game, it was like ropecaster, blast sling, light it on fire, hide, ropecaster, blast sling, dead. So like there definitely is a strategy you can do every time towards something. There's definitely like an arsenal. Like you could pick your favorite arsenal, never look back. Like there'd be no fight where you're like, I gotta bring out the tear blaster for this. It's just there if you like to be closer. You like
blaster.
to. It's like a shotgun that like pops all their armor off. It's really satisfying to get right close to something and see all these purple things just go flying off of it.
And would you call the fire one?
There's a blast sling, which is for
Blast
like
sling.
elemental stuff.
Yeah.
Which is like I'm gonna shoot some ice at you or some fire.
And a
no, I'm
rope
sorry,
caster.
just the sling.
So it slings
and then there's
blast.
the blast sling, and that chucks grenades and proximity mines. And stuff
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
There you go.
And then the other thing was the whole rest of the story that wasn't right at the end. I didn't care. I didn't care about a lot of the people that I was meeting. I think one of the parts where I like started to get excited was I found like the Hunter Lodge in like the main town, and it's just like 2 NPCs. They hang out in the corner. I do 1 chain for them. Then I'm initiated into the Hunter Guild. Done. It was just like okay. I didn't really feel. Everything was very regal. Everything was a lot like Final Fantasy 12. So it was just it was just hard for me to actually like emotionally connect. That like you never get a house. You never have storage. Like everything's always just on you. Like you're kind of like a nomad, like an outcast, and so I just never felt home there. And like that was kind of a bummer for me in an open world game. Like I usually have like a house or like a car or something that I can kind of like identify with. And everything in that game is just very run and gun. You're always providing for yourself.
So drilling into the dialogue, is it
But that's all the negative stuff. Everything else is so good.
Right.
And this game is so up my alley. Like I could talk about this game for hours.
I've been having that a lot with a few games as well, where they'll talk a lot, but it doesn't feel like a real conversation. It doesn't feel like, oh, if I ran into this person, this is how we would interact with each other. Is it unnatural like that, or is it just the way that they're saying it, sort of this regal?
It's the fact that when you dive deep, there are these places I don't even know if I can say by name that reveal the secrets of this world. There's different areas you can go into. Whenever you see a big door open up, like it's about to get real. Like you're like, okay, here we go.
The vaults.
So, yeah, sure, vaults is a good name. So like when you get into those things, like very cool stuff happens. Lots of secrets are revealed.
Ooh.
When you get outside and you go to a village and some guy's like, my cattle's missing. I'm like, okay, when I turn this in, I'll probably level up and get another skill point, but I don't care about you. Like, I don't, like, especially since a lot of the game, like, shuns you. Like, a lot of people are very negative towards you because they're like, you're an outcast. You're a Nora, like, and so it's just a lot of that attitude that by the time I, like, get to meet, like, royalty, I was just like, I just don't care. And it has that kind of 1v1 BioWare conversation where it's like, that person talking, maybe close up on their face, close up on your face, back to mid-shot. And that's okay in something like a BioWare game when you literally talk to 500 different people. Like, you go to, like, a new town, meet 40 new people. Then you go to, like, another town, meet 40 new people. There's, like, villages and one big town. And that's it, So, like, the actual getting into the world and being like, my boyfriend's missing, help me find him. I was like, sure, I had a lot of fun finding the snapjaw that you pointed me toward. But, like, your actual plight, I don't care. And so that was rough in a role-playing game. Even something like a Shadow of Mordor, I was like a little more into kind of what was going on with every single moment, not just like the world, which was the big mystery that I felt was really rewarding and had a nice impact.
You brought up BioWare, and something I think they can do really well is the conversations that you're talking about, the one-on-one where you're selecting different options. It's not just the people that give you quests that you have meaningful conversations with. They're just people sometimes that you interact with where they don't send you on a journey. They just fill in the context of the world. They just make it feel a little bit more real. Is that present in Horizon? Are there people that you can just run up and talk to that have interesting things to say? Or is it just it's kind of this world filled with quest givers?
You can talk to people. You can, like, any person you walk up to, it'll say what their name is. It'll be like, Meridian Market or Meridian Merchant. And you can just say, like, hey, what's up? And they'll say something back to you. So there is that kind of flavors a little bit.
But it's meaningful.
It's not meaningful, but it feels like an uphill battle just because I don't care about... This world is blind to the truth. And when you learn the truth, it's tough to, like, put up with that. It's tough to... It's hard to feel connected because it's like, you're all so dumb. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's like, I'm one of the only people that knows, but I can't tell them.
And like your whole life
that in and of
doesn't
itself
matter,
is
yeah.
actually a very powerful moment when that happens
Sure,
in the story, when you kind of like reunite with these people and you see just kind of this obsession with the religion and tribalism and all this stuff, and you're like, yeah, that's so not important. Like we so need to be focusing more on these things now that I know what's going on. And so that actually makes me very excited for Horizon 2 once like more people in the world start finding out what's going on. And but I've been mostly negative, like fighting machines. And there's not, as reviewers, there's not many opportunities we get to say things like that. Is unlike anything I have ever done in any video game I have ever played. Like, and one of the things I was showing a game to a friend last night, and I remembered like, oh, I didn't really like focus on this so much in the review. The weight of everything. I mean, like if so, like there's these things. One of my favorites, like Tremors, called rock breakers, and they burrow underground. And so it's great. You can rope cast them, and they're like, nope, and they'll just go underground and shake them off. And they have one move where they'll pop up out of the ground, shoot all these boulders up into the air, and every single time one of those rocks hits, it hits. It doesn't just feel like, oh, it's a marker for something that'll do damage to me. It's like, no, it shakes the camera. It's loud. It definitely feels like when you get hit by one of those, it's like, okay, I should clearly run away from this thing when it does that move. But just when something like comes up out of the ground, when something lands, like there's huge storm birds, when they like hit the ground, like there's a lot of impact to it.
Talking about
it definitely seemed important to them with the sound design and the weight of everything.
Talking about these moments where you have these fantastical mechanical creatures and they come in and it's like, okay, we're gonna fight, and it looks so good. Mm-hmm. Does it run well? Because that has to sell the experience. You didn't have any problems with that.
I got stuck on the environment twice. I was like in a bandit camp one time, and I just rolled into a log and was like, and I got stuck on it. And I think the game crashed once. Again, there was supposedly a huge patch. It's going to happen on day one that adds HDR and all that stuff that like I did not play with. Pop in, I think, was the biggest performance thing, where I would like walk towards it and be like, that mountain looks weird. There it is. And that might again be fixed with the new patch. Did not slow the game down at all. Did not like disrupt my immersion.
And you're on PS4 Pro?
I was on PlayStation 4 Pro. Again, they specifically mentioned to all reviewers there is a big patch coming that does not focus on that, and I tried to.
Oh, so they haven't done the Pro patch
review.
yet at all. Okay.
As far as I know, yeah.
Having reviewed Nioh recently,
yes. One
of my biggest complaints about the game is it felt like it kind of ran out of tricks by the end. That what it was throwing at me and the ways it was throwing at me, the way it was throwing those things at me, got stale. It just ran out of ideas, and it could have been maybe a little bit shorter as a result. Do you feel like Horizon ever has that problem? Because you're talking about these things and they sound so cool, and the first time I fight them, I bet it is amazing. Is it a game that remains interesting and exciting until the end?
One thing you brought up that I did think about when I was writing the script was you brought up the red demons, the red yokai from Nioh, and that they're super intimidating when you first start the game. But by the end, you're like, I'm not really scared of these things. That is kind of rewarding because you are like in Nioh, the idea is that I'm trying to survive this journey to get to the end to rescue people that I care about. Whereas the actual hunting of these things is very much a part of why you're there, like who you are and what you do. And so getting better at these things and like these watchers, which are stealthing around at the beginning of the game in the tutorial, by the end, it's like I'm meleeing these things. I don't care. It is rewarding and it is gratifying because a lot of what they do in later parts of the game is they'll put two rock breakers right next to each other with a couple of walkers. And it's like even just one of those walkers, it's like, because I got these things that can burrow and go underground. One of them will go underground and just stay there for a minute. And you're like, wasn't there two of them? Where'd the other guy go? So you're like focusing on this other guy, and then out of nowhere, he'll just, the second guy will show up again. And I didn't even know that one dumb watcher was there, but then I damaged him, moved to someplace else. The watcher pulled out of the cables. A couple shell walkers walked by. He alerted them. They joined the fight. And so, like, depending on what tiny little elements you drop into a fight, it can really change the dynamic of it. One of my favorites was, probably my favorite machine in the whole game is the Stalker. And it's like Predator, basically. So cloaks, but you can see it Predator style. Mm-hmm. There's a arrow you can have called a Tear Blaster, I believe, that'll pop things off. So it won't take off armor, but if there's like a gun attached to it,
you've already said Tear Blaster in a whole different
That
context.
was its own. There's Tear Blaster arrows.
Oh my god!
And then there's the actual shotgun Tear Blaster.
And by the way,
they do the same thing.
I'm sorry for interrupting you here. There's so many verb enemies, and I can't believe you remember each of them.
That is impressive.
I put 55 hours in this.
I know, but it's just like the Stalker, the Walker, the Groundbreaker.
There's a journal that you have. It lets you know like what you can actually go all the pieces of it, and it'll highlight it on their body. So like you'll have tutorial with challenges for weapons that are like shoot this at their energy core, and you're like energy core, it's an energy core, and you can like go to their journal entry and like oh, it's that thing on their butt. Okay, and then you can highlight them, and like the spots you can specifically hit will glow. But the Stalkers, will cloak, have a sniper shot, and when they don't know where you are, they'll just start chucking mines. So if they think, like, I think he's in this area, they'll just, like, bung, 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 just throw all these mines out. So you're like, you don't want to get hit by it. And it's fun to, like, have the thing be like, I think you're in that bush, but I'm not sure. So I'm just going to fire in that spot right there. And it's, like, right next to me. I'm like, no, miss me. You know, and then it'll go by and I'll, like, pop out and stealth grab them. But there was this one area I went into that had a bunch of shell walkers, which are the things on their back that have the big, like, case on their backs. If you kill a shell walker, if you kill a shell walker while it's on its back, the back will explode. You got to, like, knock it off and then kill the shell walker, and then you can get a bunch of loot. And I needed a shell walker heart for some outfit I was going to get, and I kept dying for some reason every time I would find a big crowd of these guys. And then I finally found one crowd in a, like, later part of the game and was like, these guys are pretty easy. I'm surprised there's not, like, more crazy stuff happening here. So I just went in, like, stealth attack for the first shell walker, and 2 stalkers that were there that I just didn't see, like, came up and took me out. So it was like, oh, neat. Okay, that was your little recipe there. It was like 3 shell walkers, 2 stalkers. We brought you in because you saw the shell walkers and got excited, but you didn't realize there were these other guys there. And again, not a side quest, not just something I found on the map. So when you have the stories, this, you know, it didn't satisfy me as much as I wanted to. It's nice that it makes up for just having wandering around the map, like amazing stuff happens.
Something that you haven't done really yet, or haven't done very much of at the very least, is when you're describing this game, you're just saying, this is what Horizon Zero Dawn is. Mm-hmm. This is why it's not like anything else I played.
Right.
You're not dissecting this game. You're saying, okay, this part is like X game. This other part is like Y game. And so because of that, it makes me even more excited to play it. This really does feel like a brand new thing, and that is super cool.
I think Far Cry is probably the series that reminds me the most of, because there is a lot of resource gathering, using those resources into, like, I need to get another raccoon to carry more bullets. Like, I've done that a lot in Far Cry
and
games,
taking over bases too, right?
Yeah, there's not a ton of that.
Okay.
There's one NPC that just loves to go kill bandits, so you help him every now and then. Go
But you can't
bandit camps.
you can't just write it off and say, oh, this Far Cry thing.
No.
Right.
It's a completely different game.
Cool. Something that really crystallized your feelings on Horizon, as I went to pick up a camera and you were talking about Horizon, you said it's a 4-star game that has a lot of 4.5-star moments.
It would get these peaks every now and then, like where I would, like, finish something and my heart would be racing. I'm like, is this a 4.5? I don't know. And then I would eventually just kind of settle back into cozy 4 stars, just because it like I mentioned BioWare, I've mentioned, you know, Ubisoft games, like open world games, Towers, obviously all that stuff. Like they have borrowed a lot of things from other franchises to kind of make this meld between your typical open world, you know, Watch Dogs kind of a thing, run around and just, you know, unlock stuff, open world game. But then also, like I said, it's kind of a BioWare flavor where, like, you are really getting, you know, one-on-one with a lot of NPCs.
Right.
You know, great performances, great facial animation, actually. There's a lot of expression in the characters.
Good faces?
But it's like when I directly compare it to a Far Cry and to a BioWare, I start noticing all these. You know, when it's like, when I saw a lot of people in reviews were like, the open world is huge. I'm like, I've played a lot of open world games, and it's not that big. There's a lot going on in there, but I was a little underwhelmed when I, like, opened up the last part of the map and was like, oh, it's not that big.
I got a question, actually. You said there's one city and multiple villages.
Yeah.
And the one shot of the original trailer that got me more hyped than anything was the wooden elevator going up into the city. So is that the city?
That's
or is
the big
that,
city, yeah.
So that
That's
was
Meridian.
the city. Got it. Okay. My expectations are in check.
You could probably call other things cities. I mean, but that's like the big.
So that, I mean, yeah, because when I saw
main
that,
place.
I
People were
thought,
like, have you been to
that's-
Meridian?
That's just one of the environment. You know, when you see that in a trailer, you
Right.
think, oh, there's gonna be lots of those. So there's one of those.
So I play something, again, like a Knights of the Republic or a Mass Effect, where it's just like, I've been to so many different crazy environments with so many different people there, and it's like, there's poor people, rich people, the big city, villages, snow, jungle, desert, forest. Like that's Horizon, and like, again, like, I had so much fun playing this. Like I wanted to do absolutely everything, and not because I felt some kind of, like, obligation to be a completionist about it. It was like every time I get another skill point, I get stoked. Like I want to get all of these things. I think I eventually got enough points to buy every single skill but one, and I didn't want it, but it was like, oh, that's interesting.
Oh, just in one playthrough without
Yeah.
grinding too much. You basically can have.
And you cap at 50.
What was
so.
the skill you didn't want?
I can take out mods if I want to. Like right now, if I add a mod to something, it deletes the old mod, and then it's stuck there. And all my stuff was already pretty well modded out by that point. So it's like, all right. That versus when I do a melee attack, if my health is super low, it does a lot more damage now. But, like, once I'm about to die, I get all raged out.
So with the skills, when you got to the end of the game, when you got to the end of that 55 hours, did you pretty much have everything?
Yeah, except for that one, yeah.
because that's something that always bums me out a little bit in an open world game, where I feel like by the time I reach the credits, if I am playing pretty thoroughly, I just have everything. I just personally prefer when I get to the end and there's so much left for me to do, and then I think about that next playthrough and how I could play completely differently, and then my mind starts running wild with all of these other possibilities and what the skills could do, and so that, I don't know, that kind of...
There's pivotal story decisions that you make at certain points, and you can decide whether to be angry, intelligent, or like all heart. We're just like, that's not nice. It's literally like a fist, a heart, and a brain. And I went heart the whole way just to see what happened. I think I picked brain like once or twice, but I couldn't really say what that did, like where that divided, or clearly that changed this thing there, or if that just like maybe changed her dialogue or something. But like,
now I have the Captain Planet theme song stuck in my head.
Oh, and
heart.
Yeah.
Well,
our powers combined.
The question that I have about that stuff, the heart, the brain, and the fist, is right.
That's
it
the
sounds
name of my
really
second
weird.
gang.
It's like, isn't that a Narnia novel? Or like,
Yeah.
I would be annoyed if every time I picked brain, it was just sarcastic, or every time I picked fist, it was like, because I could see you being aggressive, but still very, very logical. And so, does it get to the point where you're picking something you don't necessarily know what that's going to mean? It just seems too vague.
I thought it was pretty straightforward.
Okay.
I mean, clearly it was like there's one character, for example, I can't talk about, who's like very harsh and very straightforward and very like, what's your problem, Aloy? Let's just get the job done. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to tell that character, like, look, man, you need to like understand emotionally what's going on here. Or you can just be like, yeah, I don't care, I'm with you. And so I chose to take the side of like, let's look back and think about how this affected this person that we just killed or screwed over or saved or whatever. Kyle doesn't care.
No. I really don't.
Kyle's fist all the way.
I really don't like heart, brain, and fist. I really, really don't.
Seems
but
off to
again,
me
it
too.
doesn't. It didn't have like a huge impact for me. I'd much rather play 10 more hours of Horizon, having be leveled up as I am now, than go back and start over.
I imagine the person who is picking brain and feeling so smart for it, just like, yeah, I always picked brain. It's like, that doesn't make you smart. You just clicked on a brain. Or just like, yeah, I always picked fist. That's just the kind of gamer I am. It's like, it makes me so mad.
But I didn't always pick heart, even though that is kind of the gamer I am. But there were definitely some times where I felt it was a climactic moment. I'm like, I really want to make my point here. I really want to show that like
fist?
I never picked fist, because fist was always just like,
He's not Hubert.
yeah, exactly.
I don't understand this symbolism of dialogue that we've kind of gotten to. Fallout 4 does that as well, where when you compare it directly to Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas, in those two games, in those two previous games, you know exactly what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. And it's not that much reading.
Yeah.
You could do it at a glance
if
you're familiar with reading.
But yeah, these things
why
pop
can't
up
we
like
do that? Why is
10
that gone
times in
away?
the narrative, so it's
Well,
not.
as I talked about in my college dissertation, the symbolism of dialogue.
Is this true?
No.
Oh.
But like, I just thought that's
Gonna read
fun.
that right after this
nice.
podcast.
No,
would
but I mean,
believe
like,
it.
I think BioWare, somebody was talking about that, where they put the symbol so that you have an idea of, because games that don't just put the entire dialogue of what you're actually going to say, which I do prefer, but I think they want it to keep going at the speed, because it's fully voiced, so they want it to continue at a speed so that it seems like an unbroken dialogue.
I don't buy it though,
I
because
think that's why they do that.
Because think about The Walking Dead. You know what you're going to say and how you're going to say it, and you have to make pretty quick decisions. And I never felt, oh man, I wish you would have truncated that to a fist.
But in Walking Dead, isn't it always? Well, it's a fist, and it shows you a bit of what you're gonna say, right? Or is it just a fist, a brain, and a heart?
I think you get a line. of
Okay.
dialogue
Like an
in that.
abbreviated.
Okay,
Sure.
Yeah.
So this is just me not being familiar with Horizon,
Right.
admittedly. Does that line up, because they do it sometimes where you'll get a short phrase, but it's not exactly.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah.
Okay, so it's
close to
along
what
those
you
So
say, but
like
it's not.
BioWare does that, don't they? Where it's like, this is a sort of what you're gonna say, and then you click it. Sometimes you're just like, your shepherd, she'll just be like, like way harsher than you expected, and you're just like, whoa, okay, all right, okay.
That's definitely true, but I don't remember too many times in Mass Effect where I felt, what is where it was too simplified.
When that happened, I usually agreed. I was like, yeah, good for you. Yeah, that's how I would have said that. Toe the line.
I just think sometimes it is brain to be heart, and sometimes it is brain to be fist.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
I use brain to be fist almost all the time.
So the brain
And I use
icon is
brain
really
to be
what
heart
you.
too.
maybe like a target. So it's like the tactical decision. You know, it's like, well, I want to be.
But I mean,
know.
that is heart and fist. You are being tactical.
Yeah.
You are being brain.
What if Kyle Bossman's face was one of the dialogue options?
I would have to pick it.
No.
I'm conflicted here.
That'd be the down, and it'd always be
Right.
like a snarky, not
But
constructive.
this literally does happen 10 times. And like I just said, from what I can tell,
Sideways
does not
arrow.
have a huge impact on the.
Sure.
More than,
Yeah.
more than I can tell, I got
I had
like
a bad
the
reaction to
heart
it.
version.
I apologize.
of
Not
Horizon.
trying to necessarily dig into Horizon specifically. It's just made me think about how dialogue in games in general.
I'm just
has
surprised this
changed.
conversation has turned out overly negative because I will say of all the issues that I had with the story, I cried in the credits. Like literally post credit, not really post credit scene, but post end cutscene scene. I shed a tear, an honest tear I do not regret. I was like, that's a very cool story.
Wow.
Nice.
That took 40 hours to get to to get to that point. And I was like, relevance.
Whoa, Jones.
relevant.
You made me very excited to play the game just with that statement.
And I don't, and I'll just say the reason why, no spoilers, it is somber. What went down on planet Earth sucked.
That's definitely not a spoiler. That we can
Right.
all assume. That's fine. Yeah.
but specifically detail by detail, like how, what they meant to do and how it.
Like,
Yeah.
Yes and no. We did some real dumb things and some pretty remarkable things at the same time.
Right.
elephants are
Well, Jones, now you're getting close to spoiler territory.
Yeah.
Watch yourself, man.
But one of the reasons I like Nioh a little bit more than Bloodborne and Souls, or one thing that I get from Nioh that I don't get from Bloodborne and Souls, is when like a giant, in like Souls, when like a giant thing of armor just like comes at me, and it's like I'm scared because that thing's got a health bar and is holding a weapon, you know. Whereas like things in yokai look pissed. Things in yokai are looking at me, you know, or like have eyes and have like aggression, and have like stances, and that is intimidating of them like changing a stance, and like it seems like I'm fighting much more like a character. So like you have a Ravager like totally stealth, and then you like knock off his armor and he's in slow-mo, and then he just turns at you with these red eyes, and like while you're still in slow-mo running, he just like beep, 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 and you like dodge and it's kicking up dirt. Like again, I can't think of the game that does that. I can't think of like this open world game that you have to dodge so fast and you have to hit things. You can't just, it's not like, oh, I gotta lock on and then I gotta get close and then I attack. Like you have to bullseye this very specific part. And it's like a lot of things are like between legs. So like, my weak point's underneath my body. So you literally have to follow like my legs moving back and forth. And then when the left leg moves forward, like there's my open, just get it in there.
That's cool. That's some movie stuff.
And
right
like a lot of things have like big vats of gel on them that will either like, you know, they'll use their fire abilities or their ice spitting abilities. And if you take that out, they can't do it anymore. And if you're too close to them, when that blows up, it'll knock you back and on your ass. And I just like every time that happens, even though it's stunning me, I'm like, I love that, just that effect. Of like seeing like, yeah, that was a giant explosion. That probably would.
And multiple
knock me over.
times, as you've been discussing these awesome things in Horizon, I have that little thought in the back of my head that says, this is coming from the Killzone studio.
Yeah.
And that's a series, I know a lot of people love it, but that's a series that I would play through and get some enjoyment of, but never really stuck with me. And to see this huge shift, and to have you sit here and say, this is a good game, I recommend this. That's pretty awesome.
And I mean, it makes sense if this is their first, like, you know, leaning more towards the realm of role playing, that like the role playing aspects of this are not that great. That like the story itself is good. It was just the way the story was told, the pace at who I was introduced to, and what I was told to place importance on, and when didn't really line up with what I was actually interested in. Right. It really didn't take until like the very end to be like, wow, you guys did a lot of work on this, and you actually like did create an interesting story, one that will stand for the franchise. You know, it's like even when I finished Assassin's Creed 1, you're like, huh? It's like, okay, I kind of know who I am and kind of what's going on. And you finish Horizon, it's like, I'm ready. I'm ready for Horizon 2. Like I know what happened. I'm ready to continue this. And I think, you know, taking those, you know, critiques, I hope everyone's not just like sunshine and rainbows about this game, and they actually like challenge Guerrilla. Like, man, that like, I think I was more excited about what, you know, Horizon 2 could possibly do. Like that could be 5 stars, no question, you know.
But at the same time, it doesn't seem like one of those first entries where you're like, okay, this was the pilot episode.
Yeah.
You know, this was mostly things you need to improve on. It seems like there's a lot more good than bad, and the reason you're excited for the sequel is because of what is so good about the first one.
And the very easy steps that they can take to make improvements on this. There's so much about this game, they don't need to change it all. Like, please don't change this part here. It's great. Like the combat's great. You know, the zones. One thing I like that you don't hear me saying anything negative about Red Dead, but one thing in Red Dead Redemption that would frustrate me is I'm like, I need some coyote pelts, and I look at the minimap and like there's a coyote. So I'm like, all right, and I hit that spot and walk over there and like. Coyotes? Anybody? You know, and it's like if you like need a snap jaw, there's 2 of them there every time. You know, you go and like there it is. That's where they are. Like you can mark that on the map. There'll be a fast travel point near it. You can go straight there. So it's just like they clearly knew like fighting robots is this game. Like everything around it is pretty good, but like that one aspect is just absolutely dynamite. And there's only like 3 tiers of weapons. So again, it's just not like as deep as like many other role playing. Even like a GTA 5, it's just not that. There's not that many options. But that just never gets old. It's just super fun. Like, it just like I said, just last night, this was like 60 to 65 hours of this game that I've played now. And I was just like showing a friend, and he just kept, okay, go this thing, or go fight that thing, or where are those other guys? And I was just like, this is fantastic, loving it.
I know.
All that time.
I know Horizon has consumed most of your life the last 2 weeks. Have you been able to squeeze anything else in that you've been dying to talk about?
I played Superhot for the first time.
Yeah,
and that
was a
great.
good stream. Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting to see people in chat be like, "You're playing this differently than me." And I'm like, "There's ways to play this." Like I think a lot of people. Interesting speedrun game. Talk about replayability. You know, like you're really obsessed with it. And I was definitely taking the puzzle approach.
Were you playing VR or regular?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was just playing on Xbox One. But I imagine there's a lot of people that like I never want to stop moving. You know, like I want to go through this and actually not stop. You know, actually not like literally stand still and just kind of stare at it and be like, okay. But I think throwing weapons is the best thing that game added. Like that, and that was one thing that like chat kept being like, Jones, throw your gun. Like, oh, and just like that concept is just like shotgun, headshot, throw it, grab your katana, slash, throw into that guy's shoulder, grab his pistol, shoot. Like,
cool.
So cool.
Because it like generally does a lot of damage if you throw a pistol at somebody in that game.
It would just
like,
stuns them. Oh, and another
stuff.
thing. I'm sorry. Another thing about Horizon is how I get so tired now. I remember like back in the GoldenEye days when you would like shoot a guy and he'd go, ugh. If you like shoot, he's like, I'm about to shoot you, and like, oh, you just shot me, and like, then shooters look so much better as we go along, and like things just don't react when they get hit now. Like Call of Duty, like nothing, barely ever. It's like you got to headshot me or just put a bunch of bullets into me, and like I might like as I like go to cover or go to the spot where I'm supposed to be at. Whereas like every little tiny thing you do to these robots, they react. If something's about to like gear up a big attack on you, and you just shoot the basic lowest damage arrow into its eye, it'll stop and go, you know, and like shake it off. So it's just nice to like, if you hold down the aim button, it'll close in on the reticle, and the farther it is from that reticle, the worse your aim's gonna be. So if you want to just get an arrow out, you can do that, but if it's not close to you, you'll see it, like you know, veer off. But if you really want to hit that, you gotta like hold it for a second and let it go.
That's something I love so much about Resident Evil 4 as well, where shooting all of the different body parts, depending on the situation, will give you an advantage. And the more that I experimented around with that, the better at the game I got. Is that also true in Horizon, where shooting all of these different parts might be useful depending on what you're trying to do or the situation?
Oh yeah, like the bigger guys have the weapons that if you knock them off, you can use them, and they're dead. Like that's especially if you pin them down and just walk right up to their face.
Like take a Gatling
you can't
gun
move,
off a
buddy.
T-Rex.
Go. Yeah,
Cool.
It's gratifying.
Moving back to Superhot,
Right.
It's kind of a puzzle game.
Definitely.
I mean, it absolutely is a puzzle.
Oh, yeah.
It's not kind of a puzzle game. And I remember my playthrough of Superhot, what would happen is I would kind of go in with a plan, and I would kill a guy, and his gun would be flying up in the air, and then I would catch a gun and have that moment and be like, no, I could do something cooler. And that kind of thing just kept happening all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's so flexible, and because you can do so many different things with just the simple mechanics of throwing, shooting, and slashing and punching and all that stuff.
For anyone at home who's never heard of Superhot, I would first describe it as a first-person shooter, so they have a good frame of understanding of what this actual game is, and then say it's got a puzzle element to it.
Yeah, time-based mechanics.
Yeah, because when you stop, everything stops. A bullet in air stops.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, that's not
Slows
yeah.
considerably.
Way down.
okay,
yeah.
cool.
Bullets
But still
don't
moving.
fully stop.
Yeah.
Cool. And then when you start moving again, it goes at full speed, correct?
Yeah.
And you can.
Oh!
Gotta love it. All of your
All right.
phone too, Kyle.
That's a sneaky one.
We're going to
stopping
take
on
a
that
quick
one.
break. We are back after an accidental coffee spill. Nothing was damaged, should be said. Everybody's fine, and we cleaned it up super quickly. Jones, you were talking
I might have
about
mental anguish, though.
You have mental anguish?
Yeah.
If this was super
psychologically-
hot, that wouldn't have happened.
We would walk
You know,
backwards,
I would have
right?
been like, oh, wait, my hand's close to that cup. Oh, got it. But no. Coffee into the water. Into the next segment of this podcast.
Have you finished Superhot?
I have not finished Superhot.
Okay.
I just played about 2 hours for the stream.
I'm really
and
curious
not
when
back.
you do finish it.
Okay.
Maybe we can't talk about it on the podcast because of spoilers, but that ending is something else.
That's another thing, yeah, about Superhot.
Yep.
The least said, the better.
Yes, the least said, the better.
It is just
More
just like
than
Portal.
meets the eye.
Just like
Ooh.
Portal.
Yeah.
It's less.
I haven't
It's
played it
more
yet,
than
yeah.
just
Yes.
levels that you do.
Kyle.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It is not just a game that says, hey, here's this cool idea. The way that it contextualizes that idea is pretty awesome.
That's
Yeah.
exciting because really I thought
Pretty
it was just
unexpected.
like,
Yes.
I thought it was just
it
what I saw.
should be said.
I took it at face value. I'm sorry
I've
about
seen
that.
people that have kind of come out against the ending.
Whoa.
And the story in general. I'm not just focusing on the ending, but the story in general because of its ambiguity. But I thought it was a pretty awesome take.
Cool. Curiosity peaked.
That was very, very, very creative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta play that game.
The one other thing that I want to say, and you're the one with the Vive, is I've heard everybody that has played it in VR says yes, regular Superhot is awesome. VR
Yes.
Superhot is the way to go.
Oculus exclusive.
Oculus
unfortunately.
Oh, it's
exclusive.
Oculus
So I need
exclusive.
to-
Okay.
I need to-
I'm just right there.
Revive.
Yeah.
a lot of people are playing with VR.
I gotta work
Revive.
around that.
With what?
Revive. It's the way to play.
It allows you to play Oculus, but
It
we shouldn't
turns
talk
off
about
that
that.
stupid
Oh,
thing where it's
okay.
like,
we shouldn't talk
These
about that.
identical
Okay.
things.
I did not know that.
A little dubious.
Oculus exclusive.
The VR exclusive thing is really weird. To
Did y'all
me.
hear John say coffee? Like a Bostonite.
Wait, what did he say?
Coffee.
He says now and then instead of now and then.
See, Kyle, the reason that doesn't phase me is Jones can do any voice as far as I'm concerned.
Ah!
So
Versatile.
if he's in the middle of a sentence and he just
Coffee.
has a British accent, or he says coffee with a Boston accent, it doesn't even phase me. That's just him speaking.
Jones, I gotta say, you did a really good John Oliver because I think when people do John Oliver, is they just do a British accent. But
Right.
you did a John Oliver earlier today. That was
Well,
pretty
thank
cool.
you. Nice.
Don't.
No, I'm
don't
not
do
doing it now.
Don't do it.
That was
Don't
just
show
for
'em.
Kyle.
Just know that Jones has a good one.
But stay tuned. You might get it maybe later.
Yeah.
Not on this podcast, but another show.
Yeah.
Easy Allies. Okay.
Stop that.
You can support us on Patreon.
Spill some more coffee, Jones.
We're
Kyle,
on track.
There was a game, and you always play unexpected games, I would say. Whenever you come on Frame Trap, you have a list of games that I certainly couldn't predict the way that I could probably predict some other people's, what they've been playing.
I'm sorry, Ben.
No, I wasn't calling out you specifically. And that's not a bad thing. We gotta talk
I
about
think
the big
his
things as well.
unpredictability is predictable now. We always know he's
Okay.
going to
Oh,
play
yeah,
some
that's
dumb
it, yeah.
garbage.
Okay, sure. The
You also can't
unpredictability
look
is
forward to
predictable.
what Kyle's going to say because, you know.
But the excitement that you had for this particular game
Yes.
caught me off guard.
Mm-hmm.
What is that game?
Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin. Or Rhombus of Ruin. Look, if you Google Rhombus of Ruin, you're going to find this game. This is a very cool VR-only game in that it is designed for VR specifically, and you get that sense, and it is a complete VR game. Now, I think... What's up?
Is it exclusive to PSVR or is it,
It
on
is for
any
now.
VR?
It's exclusive to PSVR
Okay,
for now.
Okay.
Who knows how long that deal is? They're not too vocal about those things. It's really good. When it was first announced, hey, we're making a Psychonauts game for PSVR, I shrugged my shoulders.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was a pronounced shrug.
Yeah.
They're not phoning this in. This was made by people who were curious about making a VR game and made a very cool, compact, interesting VR game. The first thing I should say about it, and I think it is why it is not reviewing particularly well, is it is a short game with little to no replay value. I played it. You know, I like to take a knee. I like to look around. I like to be in an environment. I like to feel it. I spent 2 hours in this game. So you could feasibly spend much less and complete the game.
So it's a 20-minute
100%. Yep. And it's a $20 game. That is worth saying. Yeah.
I've played an hour of it and I'm not finished yet.
Yep.
So that
Okay.
How
that
many
should be
knees
said.
have you taken?
I've done a lot of staring straight up.
Oh.
Ooh, nice.
It is $20, which is expensive for the amount of time that you're getting.
Yeah.
But I think it is so well designed, and I think the story that they take you through is really, really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're doing is essentially, and the way they introduce you to all the mechanics is great
Yes.
as well, and I do want to touch on that.
Yeah.
But you're kind of locked in a room or you're locked in an area. And because you're a psychonaut, you can jump in the minds of other things. So there will be this guard, and you jump in his mind, and he's looking at a panel of buttons. And you're like, oh, what do these buttons mean? And then you kind of jump to another person, and you try to find the code. And that process is fun because they're not giving you too much. I always felt like, oh, all right, maybe if I look up, oh, there's something over there. And the way that it uses VR and the whole environment to kind of place clues is really, really satisfying when you figure it out. Like, oh, there's something underneath me, or there's something behind me. If I can warp to that guy to look at that thing, there it is. And they're so far in the hour that I've played, they keep throwing new things at you that are pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that I think is already born out of how tricky it is to make a VR game where you walk around. Resident Evil 7 did it, but I think this was born out of, hey, you know, it gets tricky, it gets complicated doing movement and VR, and so we have this thing where we hop into other bodies and animals. You can go through animals too and things like that. Yeah, and so I think a lot of what the game's puzzle mechanics are built around are fun things to do in VR. You know, you can pick up items and then bring them closer and move them away. That's just a fun thing to do in VR, and you can be accurate with it because you're using your head as your cursor, basically. And I love picking up things and looking at them, but then also you can burn things, you can blast things, and that's just fun.
It is.
That's just a fun thing to do, is pick something up with your mind and burn it. That's it's just an idea of, hey, let's make a fun video game. And Psychonauts helps it. It helps that this is a Psychonauts game. I've never played Psychonauts, and I don't care that I haven't. I still had a really fun time playing this game. It goes to, Ben, even after that first hour, very interesting places that I did not expect it to. It does seek to tell a story, and I think succeeds in telling a story. And on top of all those things, I think is the best looking VR game I've played. PSVR game I've played.
So the hour that I played, I did it before I had to rush over here to record this podcast. I was enjoying it so much that I left the PSVR and the PS4 on, so the second I get home, I can just flip that baby on and finish it.
I don't know if that was a wise idea.
That wasn't a wise decision. Not a wise decision.
But I wonder because, I mean, it's like you said, RE7 was the first game to do the full experience of a game that yes, was considered VR and was aware of VR going into it, but maybe that wasn't, like, the point of RE7 was not VR. It just, like, accommodated it, specifically on Sony's console. And so maybe this is a game you were buying regardless of whether you're doing PSVR, but, like, not for Rhombus of Ruin. You're buying this for VR. And Double Fine is making the effort to get out there and be one of those first publishers we've all been asking, or one of the first devs that we've all been asking for, to just make that game that is made for this system, belongs on this system. You cannot get this experience any other way. Yeah. And this game will then lead the charge for hopefully other people to jump in. I'm not surprised that game's $20. Like, it's just not, I don't think the market is at a point right now where it's just like, oh, I have so many of these, inclusive, like, probably play in one session, fun VR experiences made by a publisher, developer that I trust. I think we have to, spend a little bit more on this VR stuff than we want to at the moment to just kickstart it and get it going, so we can get to a point where these come down to $10, $5, because there's a lot more.
Yeah, you're paying a VR tax.
Kyle, you mentioned how fun it was to just use the powers and burn things and pick things up and bring them closer and throw them away. What I like is it doesn't just stop there. It doesn't just say, okay, we're going to give you a little bit of room to mess around. But I feel like the developers thought, all right, how are people going to play this game? How are we going to mess around? And what jokes or little secrets can we include for you doing those things? Because the first area that you're in is a ship, and you can open all of these compartmts. And as you open them, you'll find something. It'll drop out, and they'll have a comment. Like there's this suitcase that drops down and it opens, and there's this like these record players in there, and it starts playing music, and everybody starts dancing. There's this guy in the bathroom, and how you interact with the toilet paper, he'll have a different response. And so it kind of makes you think, oh, if I do this, what is the game going to say? And that's a really satisfying process to kind of comb over every inch of these areas and be surprised every single time when it's like, no, they thought I would do this dumb little thing. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's Batman is really good. Batman might still be my favorite VR game. Batman, you're standing and you're holding the two controllers, and so you have two hands and you can take a knee. This game you're sitting down the whole time. It's designed to be sitting down. But I think it has its advantages. You don't have little squirrely hands like Batman has sometimes, it's better at tracking because you are just sitting there the entire time. And so there's definitely advantages to have a sitting only game, and the controller just works well. You never have to worry about whether you're picking that thing up or not. You're just aiming at it and picking it up, which is pretty cool.
I want to talk about the humor a little bit.
Sure.
Because something that I think the game is funny, but something I respected about the humor is I feel like they made the interactions kind of the focal point where it wasn't trying to beat you over the head with a joke every few seconds. You were just having fun manipulating things with your head using these powers, and then once in a while it would throw a joke in there. I think that level of restraint was nice.
Yeah.
Because it made it so the humor didn't get tiresome in the way that some other games that are trying to be funny get, I think.
There's no Jack Black in this game.
There's no Jack Black.
Is that a dig on Brutal Legend?
Yeah, that was a Brutal Legend dig.
I was like, what is that attack?
There's a connection there, yeah.
Having played through the original Psychonauts and loved it, and it's a very highly regarded game, and now you've played Rhombus of Ruin and you didn't have that experience. Does this make you want to go back and check out Psychonauts?
It does, actually. I was thinking about that when I was playing it. I was surprised. I was surprised at what Double Fine pulled off with this game. Because I played through a bunch of Double Fine games, and I loved them big time, like Costume Quest and Stacking. And I really thought that was going to be the optimum of Double Fine's output going forward. And that's not true.
So why did you think that? Why did you think that was going to be the peak?
Once Brutal Legend failed, once it flopped, that was published by EA, I believe. I thought, okay, they're making teeny weeny games from here out, most likely.
You know what had me worried? Broken Age.
Right. And Broken Age and split into two parts, and the second part is most of the first part. Things
Broken
like that.
Age.
Yeah.
Broken Age really let me down. It was a game where I thought, oh, the first part is okay, and then the second part just didn't do it for me. The way some of those puzzles were designed, the way the humor was interjected, it didn't click. But Psychonauts Rhombus of Ruin feels very lean in a good way, and I know we talked about that short length and the price, and maybe they have that not matching up, but man, there hasn't been a puzzle so far where I'm like, okay, I've got to get through this. It's got a good pace to it.
Yeah, and there's kind of a fun. Oh yeah, I like it. I really like the way you solve puzzles is just finding that item, and as opposed to just like I've got a whole bunch of things, and what do I do with these things? It's you got to search for it, as you said, and interact with an environment that you are in. VR is cool. You are in environments.
VR is so cool.
VR is very cool. So yeah, I mean, if you have a PSVR, check it out. Obviously, that's a tall order. It's very, very expensive to have both of those things. So yeah, I realize it's not practical for everybody, but I do want to commend the game. It's a very, very good VR game.
Kyle, you've been the most invested in PlayStation VR out of all of us, and you've tried the most stuff. When people listen to this and you say, oh, Psychonauts is really cool, or this other little game is really cool, do you think you're at a point where you could confidently recommend somebody dropping the money on a PlayStation VR?
No. If you're the type of person who thinks, oh, I might regret it, don't buy it. Don't do that.
Because you will regret it.
Yeah. If you're that kind of person, don't do it. No.
You'll hit that point within a month where you're like, put it on the shelf.
Within the day.
Check it out later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you personally have any regrets?
No.
Nice.
I'm not a regretful person.
What's done is done.
What's done is done.
It seemed like you very much knew what you were getting into.
Yeah. Yeah.
He knew he was buying a mid-tier experience.
Yeah. It's been so worth it to me. To me, absolutely. It obviously, yeah. I know I don't ever like to talk about dollars, but yeah, it's been worth
Kyle
it.
Bossman has played a Batman game that I have not, and that's important to me.
Hop in, Jones.
That's meaningful to me.
I've played it.
Whoa, you played Batman?
Like, an hour.
I mean, I play it. I just haven't Since it came out, I haven't played it.
Oh, it's so cool.
I know.
It's
I
so cool.
liked rewinding time to try to put that crime scene together.
Yeah, that is fun.
I thought that was a cool thing to do.
Case Rhombus of Ruin. You're going through one consistent storyline, consistent environment. It's just one complete game to me. I realize it's very short, but I respect any game that can pull it off. Very cool.
I mean, a lot of VR games do. Sorry, a lot of VR games do that thing where it's like, okay, you're done with this vignette. We're gonna fade to black and come back up on another thing. Like, I was really surprised that Rush of Blood did that. Like, between levels, there are levels. Like, between levels, it'll fade to black, and then you'll come back up, and the guy will talk to you for a second, then you'll go down the little, in the mouth, and then it'll fade to black again.
Oh.
And it comes back for the level. And I was just like, Like, the card, to me in my mind, I mean, I'm not a VR designer, but to me, the cardinal rule of VR should be never break the reality, because that's the point of VR. Virtual reality. Like, always keep it, like, don't break, there's a term for this, but I can't remember what it is, but, like, never break the consistency of your view, you know?
Oh, I will say there are fades to black then.
Oh, well then Rhombus of Ruin.
Okay.
Bad news.
Should never fade to black.
There's a lot of VR games. Like Google Earth has that because you got to load maps, obviously.
I mean, it's
like,
a loading thing.
The
That's what it
Brookhaven
is.
experiment, the gun game that's you're loading levels. So yeah, you're in an environment with the menu, and then when you pull out of that, it fades to black, fades out.
This isn't a one-to-one comparison by any means, but with both the PlayStation Move, the Wii Remote, the Kinect, sort of these new technologies that people were trying to figure out, I definitely remember a moment where I realized they're not going to figure this out. That we've passed the point of no return.
Oh boy.
With VR, especially with Resident Evil 7 and Rhombus of Ruin, I feel like we're climbing over that mountain. That we can get there. That maybe this could hang on. And that's super exciting to me.
Sure, I hear you.
Because with Kinect or Move, and this is not true for the Wii Remote specifically, but with those two examples, there was never a game where I could say, oh, they have this consistent world that you go through where this technology really helps that story, like it does in Rhombus of Ruin. Like, the way that they integrate narrative, world, mechanics, it all melts together in a beautiful way where you're like, no, I love this video game.
Yes.
I don't love this gimmick. I love this video game. That's a very important distinction, I think.
Absolutely.
To me, the only PlayStation Move game that ever really nailed it was Johann Sebastian Joust, which is included in Sports Friends, I think. That's how you get it on the PlayStation. I played it on a PC using the Move controllers before it was, like, in that package. And it actually worked better before it was in Sports Friends. It's like either too sensitive or not sensitive enough. But anyway,
I do think we have to explain what that is.
it's a game where it seems like they're maybe doing some stuff like this with the Switch, but everyone is holding Move controllers and the music is playing. And when the music is slow, everyone has to go slow because the sensitivity on your Move controllers is ratcheted way up. This would be an amazing stream game for us, by the way.
It probably would. It probably would be.
Yeah. So, like, you have to move really slowly, and your whole point is trying to knock someone's hand so that their thing moves too far, and then it'll go and turn red, and then you're out, you know?
You're trying to knock him with the hand not holding the controller.
Right. And, but then when the music is fast, you can move really fast because the sensitivity on the controller is down. So then you need to really, like, jostle somebody to knock them out of the box, you know? And it's magnificent. But I remember I think it was not sensitive enough on the PlayStation version, the Sports Friends version. But yeah, oh man, that is anyway, that's a great Move game. But yeah, that was like the only one.
Double Fine made that Sesame Street game. Might be great.
Once Upon a Monster.
I've heard very good things about it.
It actually might be great.
And I watched videos of it.
Yeah.
I didn't
Is it
play it
old?
myself. But.
Yeah. It's from the Kinect era on 360.
Kinect game?
Yeah.
I feel like you can never count Double Fine out.
Now I won't.
Yeah.
I won't now.
They seem like a company that even when they make a mistake, they won't make that mistake again, and they're always trying something different enough that
They made it in good faith.
Yeah,
They
were
don't
trying
have some
something, it
ulterior
didn't
motive.
work.
They're not selling out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ian Hink,
Hi.
it's time to move to you.
Okay.
What have you been up to?
Well, my sister was in town for 5
Ooh.
days because her birthday was on the 20th and mine's on the 24th, so like we like to get together. So that was that. But while they were here, her boyfriend was also there. I built a Raspberry Pi Retro Pi
Okay.
and loaded it up with some old faves.
Some ROMs that you ripped off your carts. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, some old faves that I owned previously.
Completely legal actions being taken place here.
Rediscovered some old loves.
What are the Ian old favorites? What does Ian put on a Raspberry Pi?
Well, I put a lot of Sonic, some Mario. Realized how bad I am at these games. Like
Well, everybody's
still.
bad at Sonic.
Yeah.
Everybody's bad at Sonic.
No.
Everybody.
No. Sorry, I can't let this slide.
Ben is not bad at Sonic. No, Sonic I'm alright at.
Go watch that Sonic 2 full playthrough.
Yeah.
When did you do a full playthrough of Sonic
Breeze
2?
through it.
When did you do that?
Scheduled a couple hours, was done way below
You
time.
did a
When
full
was this?
playthrough of
Easy
Sonic 2.
Allies?
Oh, yeah.
Did you get all the Chaos Emeralds?
I did not get all the Chaos Emeralds.
Then you suck, man.
No! That's a good playthrough of that game!
Get good at Sonic. Get the Chaos Emeralds.
I'm still impressed.
Okay.
I'm still impressed.
I don't even know what the Chaos
The Chaos Emeralds is a good thing, but I will let the viewers decide. Suck or not suck, Sonic 2.
Give us that choice. But Mario,
Sorry.
I am
Tweet
bad
at
at
Trailer
Mario.
Jones.
Tweet at Trailer Jones.
Suck or not
Not
suck.
suck.
Please let me know. I'll start a poll.
Oh, God. Jones, you might have to mute some people.
Yeah. But yeah, Dr. Mario is a lot of fun.
Okay, so I got an NES Classic, was playing Dr. Mario.
Yeah. NES Classic
Dr.
is what
Mario,
started me on this
easy
trail.
to forget.
Yeah.
Great game, great puzzle game.
I got that NES Classic, and I was like, oh boy,
Uh-huh.
retro games I remember. And I'm like, man, I wish I had a Super, and I wish I had a, Genesis Classic and stuff. And I was like, I'll just get a Retro Pi, and I'll have them, And then, yeah, the Tetris Dr. Mario combo game, where you can do the mix and match, where first you play Tetris, and then you play a Dr. Mario, and then you play another Tetris.
This was an
Match.
NES game?
Super NES.
I did not know of this
Wow.
game's existence.
Yeah, it was like a combo.
Huh.
So they were like weird Super Nintendo combos. Like, remember Super Mario All Stars
Oh,
that had like
yeah.
all the NES games?
Yeah,
and
but you
Super
wouldn't be
Mario?
like doing a level of Mario 2 and then it's like,
No,
okay,
no,
time
no.
for 3.
Well, yeah, it's
Oh.
2-player.
That would have been a dynamite.
That would have been cool.
That would have been really
Yeah.
rad. But no, this one is like, it's called mixed match or mixed match, I think. And so first you do a level of Tetris where there are some like garbage things on the like blocks on the bottom.
B-type.
Yeah, B-type. And you're trying to clear like 20 lines or whatever you have the difficulty set to. And then this is 2-player mode, that we were doing. And then once you beat that, whoever beats that first, they move on to the next mode, and the other person still has to finish that mode. You can set it to 3, 5, or 7 minutes, and then you do a Dr. Mario, and based on your difficulty, you have to clear a certain number of viruses.
Cool.
And then the last mode is Tetris A-type, where you kind of just go until the time runs out.
Yeah, yeah.
And whoever has the highest score wins
Cool.
over all 3 matches. It's pretty great. It's not like Puyo Puyo Tetris where it's like a mixture of both and it's phenomenal. I was kind of hoping that. God, I'm looking forward to that game coming out in English.
Game of the year, Puyo
Oh,
Puyo Tetris.
Puyo Puyo
Don't
Tetris.
sleep on it.
Puyo Puyo Tetris, man, for real contender.
That has to be a group stream.
Oh my God, for sure. When does that come
has to
out?
be.
When does it come out? It's not launch on Switch. It's
No,
coming to
no,
everything
it's not.
else too, right?
2017. Please be excited.
Right.
I could be totally wrong on
PlayStation
this,
4.
but I think it's May or around there.
I
Summer,
feel
maybe?
like it's a month or two after Switch comes out.
look
That's
it up.
why I feel
All
like
right, thank
that,
you,
but-
Kyle.
yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you,
Kyle.
thank you for looking it up.
But anyway, yeah, that's great.
Got a question about Raspberry Pi. I feel like there's a natural inclination, and maybe this is just a Ben Moore inclination, where you start thinking about things you want to put on there.
Oh, yeah.
And you go, well, I've got to have this, and I got to have this, and then
Yeah.
it just snowballs to,
Yeah.
well, I might as well have every old game.
Yeah.
Is that happening
I,
to you?
I guess you can do. You can download a thing that's like literally every version of every game ever. And like by every version I mean like there are 6 versions of a game you've never heard of because it came out in 4 different countries, like I was like, no. I was actually sticking to games that I'd owned.
Okay. Good.
And like Lost Vikings and these things like
Yes.
remembering old games. I was like, yeah, I
Yes.
never actually beat that, and I know I won't now, But it's like, yeah, that. But here's the thing, Raspberry Pis it's not an entry level kind of thing. I was really glad that because my sister's boyfriend he's a programmer, and I was glad to have him around because like there were a couple of things where I was like, what is going on? And like there was no sound at first, so we had to like type suda nano blah blah like in the command line and like get into the suda something. Suda is like the
51.
Yeah, SUDA I think, or sudo SUDO is how you in Linux, I guess, like say give me all of my admin privileges. So like basically
Sudo.
Let me do this.
Pseudo.
So yeah, you have to go in and edit like the config file and force it to use
Whoa!
HDMI audio. I threw my pen.
You're gonna need that later.
I had
You're
another
gonna need
one.
that later. Okay.
No, I have
okay.
a
Okay.
second pen.
Was that intentional?
No, that was not. I just really needed to make that point. Anyway, so yeah, I had to do, and like there is some input lag. I'm using PS4 controllers, and sometimes weird stuff will happen. Like in Mario, like you'll go 2 steps instead of 1, which sort of is a problem.
That's a big problem.
Mario.
Yeah,
That's a big
and there are, I guess, some weird things you can do to try to fix it, but
That would just plague me every game I play. Like,
it's not great. And I'm playing it on projector, which might exacerbate it a little bit, but I don't really
all
think
these
so.
factors?
But like, it's pretty magnificent though.
Okay.
To just be like, hey, look, we can play any of these games, like, you know. Although Castlevania Symphony of the Night was not playing sound effects some of the time.
Ooh.
It was very weird. There is apparently a fix. That's what I'm trying to say is like, you can make it work perfectly, but you're gonna have to make it work yourself with weird.
You're still getting there. Mm-hmm. You're in the process.
Yeah.
Playing the NES Classic a bunch recently, something that I loved that I realized I could not do as a child, right? I would get a game every so often. You know, if I was lucky in a short period of time, maybe that was once a month. Or maybe I would rent 2 games a month. Sometimes it would be, all right, this is the only game I'm getting for the next 3 months. I love with the NES Classic where you have that moment, you just run into a nasty boss, you get that game over screen, just go, nope, another game. Have a little Kirby.
Yeah.
Are you doing that as well with the Raspberry Pi?
Yeah, for sure. We were playing, we were bashing our head against something, and we were just like, well, new game.
Right.
Just like,
You don't have to
switching
suffer
to
through
Tetris.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for sure that happens. But it is interesting to be like, the NES Classic is amazing, has 30 really good games on it, and I'm happy that I have it. But the NES Classic made me really thirsty for other stuff, where I was like, man, I wish I had this and that and the other thing. And now that I do, having the Retro Pi where I do have all the games I've ever owned for like Genesis and everything, going back, it makes me realize like the NES Classic is so solid and well designed. I do wish that like on the Raspberry Pi, if you hit start and select at the exact same time, it kicks you out of the ROM and you can pick something else. I do wish you could do that on the NES Classic where you don't have to get up. You know, because I'm lazy, but like the NES Classic is a very well made machine, and if they put out a Super Nintendo one, I will buy that as well. Like,
So,
yeah,
the thing for me is I also have a Retron.
yeah,
And sometimes that thing just doesn't work. Like, okay, this game isn't supported, or okay, it's randomly freezing up on me here. Whereas I just plug in that NES Classic. It works.
it just works.
And they look gorgeous.
It just works.
They
They look
That is
really
the
good.
major selling point of the NES Classic
yeah.
for me.
I always feel terrible talking up the NES Classic because you can't just go and buy it,
very
right?
hard to get,
which is
yeah.
awful.
They need to just make more. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. But and then Nioh.
The people want more Nioh discussion.
I love Nioh. I think about it almost all the time. I like my sister. My sister was here, and I love her to pieces. And it was her birthday, and she's like, "Let's go to Disneyland." And I was like, "It's President's Day weekend. It's gonna be really crowded and pretty expensive, peak prices." We ended up going to Disneyland and not going to California Adventure just to save the money. And also it was like a good thing because the lines were so busy, we would not have had time. We were there until midnight and still, we got to do everything that we wanted to do.
Yeah, I don't get it. Why park hopper? Why do it?
If you're there at 7 a.m. and it's not a busy time, you need both parks to fill the day.
I will never be a park hopper, but every time I see it, I think of Brandon Jones,
Sure.
where he's just
Jones is hopping parks.
right.
parks.
Where
Well, I
he's,
got the pass, so.
Yeah.
where like if I bought the park hopper, I feel like I'd be putting extra stress on myself.
Yeah.
How do I get all of this done in one
Well,
day?
when we were there together, that one time, we got both parks and did it fine. We
no,
got there at 7.
I still felt stressed.
yeah.
I still felt like, how are we going to make this all happen?
You could
Going
spend
to
a whole
these
day
parks
checking out
is not
car stuff.
right. Going to
Yeah,
the
or get a
parks is
beer.
not, not for fun.
Whereas I feel
Yeah,
like
it's a job.
Jones
It's
is
a job.
such an expert,
Yeah.
where he could be like, well, what do you want your experience to be like today? Where he could give you maximum efficiency in multiple different ways.
It's my family goes to Disney World a lot. It's like their family vacation, right? So we would go every year or whatever. And we're to that point where it's I didn't vocalize this last time we were there, but I almost said, why are we even doing this? Because we have the all 5 parks or whatever hopper. How many parks are there? Yeah, whatever. But we have the hopper for all of them, and we'll do a thing where it's like, okay, we get up at 8 or whatever. We get to Animal Kingdom. We do Everest. We see the Finding Nemo musical. We go on, this and that. And then we leave. We eat lunch. We leave. We go to MGM. Like it's a checklist, and it's the same every single year.
You got to mix it up.
It's so great. It's so
You got to
funny
go to
to
that
me.
petting zoo. You got to take a
No,
break.
I know, right? Sometimes you have to
Yeah.
be like, let's try this.
Go on the safari.
Yeah, exactly. But oh man, Finding Nemo musical is really cute. Though.
Wow. I
it's
missed it.
It's really good.
I was too busy doing the safari.
Finding Nemo musical at Animal Kingdom is very good. Also, I don't know if this is new. I don't recall this being there last time, but it was very busy, and we wanted to go on the Indiana Jones ride, which is only at Disneyland, not at Disney World.
Correct.
And yes, and they had a single riders inquire here sign.
Okay.
By the standby thing, which I'd never seen, I'd never noticed before. It looked
Yeah.
new. And so we walked up there, and they're like, standby line this way, and I was like, oh, what about single riders? And she goes, how many of you are there? And I'm like, 3, which is a strange question, but like they get that we're trying to game the system. And they go, okay, take this little card, this little pink card, and walk up the exit. And I'm like, all right. And like, we're going for a very long time
Right.
against the grain up the exit. And I think this is what handicapped people do as well. But so we went to a attendant, way in there. We'd walked for like 6 minutes up the exit. And then she's like, are you single riders? And she's like, okay, wait here. So we waited here for like 2 minutes. And then she took us into another like other line. And then we waited there for a couple of minutes. And then this guy told us, okay, go over there and tell them you're a single rider and show them your little ticket. And then she goes, okay, go up this elevator to 2, walk over, get on a different elevator to go down
Right.
back to 1.
Right. Just to get over it. Yeah.
Just to get over the ride, and then hand your ticket to the person, and they'll let you on. And then, so the guy, we do all that, and we're like, what is going on? And then we get over there, and the guy's like, single riders, and he's like, yeah. He goes, I can take 3 of you, and there were 3 of us. So we wound up sitting next to each other anyway.
Right. Which is the gamble. You don't know.
Right, which you don't know. But we lucked out. But we got through a 2-hour line in 10 minutes. It was
Single
confusing
rider
and
rules.
weird.
If you ever
Single
see
rider is
single
the
rider,
way.
yeah.
Cars ride.
Cars,
at-
Matterhorn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matterhorn was closed.
Not many of them do
But
it.
yeah.
It happens.
But
You wanted to talk about Nioh, didn't you, Ben? I got it. I
Anyway.
stole
No,
the
No.
podcast.
I really
But
thought
anyway,
that
single
story was
rider
going
is
to
the meta.
end with we were just outside.
yeah, they just kicked us out. Yeah. Never got to go on the ride.
Open a door. It was the exit.
Yeah.
Right, so
Long
we're
story
in this
short, no
elevator.
work there.
Yeah. Also, the boulder didn't roll down. There's supposed to be when he's hanging from
It's
the rope,
sometimes
right?
sometimes broken.
It
Man,
just
one of the
didn't
last
go.
times I went on there, we stopped in there for like 2 minutes.
Oh yeah.
We stopped like underneath him, just like
Yeah.
all right.
It was great.
He stopped talking and was like,
I was stuck for 30 minutes in the Haunted Mansion one time in the dining
jealous.
room.
Oh,
It
jealous.
was the greatest
Yeah,
thing
that's
that's
where you wanna
ever
get stopped.
happened.
You got to see all those details.
My dad and I were just it was Disney World. We were sitting there like just looking at all the deets, like realize that they're in 3 groups of 6. So it's like 666. I was like, whoa! I was like, that's cool.
Jones,
But anyway.
I have to comment on your frame trap etiquette because I think this is one of the best things that I've noticed is the last time you and Ian were in a frame trap, you had a nice theme park segment as well. And Jones, when you're listening to other people describe games, you're sitting there, and I can tell you're paying attention. You know, you're nodding, you're following along. You might have a question every once in a while. But when Ian or somebody else is describing Disneyland or
Jones will
another theme
jump
park, you're like, yes, that is what happens. Oh, well, if you do this, like you're in there, man, in a totally different way.
Someone else brought it up.
Yeah.
Can I say one of my favorite things about the Indiana Jones line?
Yeah.
There's those dumb bamboo sticks, bamboo staffs, bamboo stalks.
Stocks. I think, yeah.
One of them is made of rubber, and you can just go up and grab it, and it goes boing, and the others aren't.
Do you know what that's
great.
supposed to do?
No.
The ceiling's supposed to collapse.
Yeah, you're supposed to trigger something with that.
Oh,
The
what?
ceiling goes and comes down, and then
If I grab the rubber one?
if you grab it once it's like reset, yeah. So the whole point is that
Pull it
like you
down.
have a bunch of people in line that don't know what's supposed to happen. That one guy goes and pushes it, and it bends, and the ceiling.
See, I love this.
Oh, okay.
I've been in that line 4 times. No idea you can do that.
Yeah.
Jones, all right, this
But
is
was
why
like,
that happened.
That was stuff that like the Imagineers like put a lot of work into it, and they designed all
Yeah.
the tech, and then like 2 years after the ride was open, they're like, I'm tired of fixing this thing. Like, I just
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So now it's just a rubber.
It's just
Just
yeah.
a
rubber bamboo.
thing,
So you think Nioh is pretty cool?
yeah. I do really quick.
No, go ahead.
Disney does a great job of
Go ahead.
lines.
Go ahead.
And I said we were in Space Mountain, Hyper Space Mountain last night,
Yeah.
and I looked over the edge, and there was some cleaning supplies, like a bucket and some Windex,
Nice.
and I said to my sister, I'm like, that's some Universal Studios shit right there. I was like, get that out of here. I was like, what is this?
I'm
You
in
know?
space right now.
I know.
What is this?
I'm in a space airport, and then my sister goes, I don't know. It's actually conceivable that they might have some cleaning supplies at a space airport over there, and I'm like, you're right. Disney redeemed.
I want to now use that for other things. Like, this is some Universal Studios nonsense.
Yeah. Oh, it's real. The differences are palpable, but I mean, like,
What about Don though? Don't do that to
oh
Don.
no. But here's the thing. Well, I mean,
It's Don's favorite.
Saying
There
that
is-
is a personal insult to
Yeah,
Don.
it
Well,
would
there
be.
is a caveat though, because the theming of Universal Studios is that you are behind the scenes at a movie studio.
Right. Yeah.
So they're not trying to create,
Yeah.
you know, except for with Harry Potter, but like whatever.
They
Anyway,
lost the theme.
Yeah. Anyway, Nioh. So I'm
Is
April 25th.
for
Puyo
for
Tetris.
Puyo
Puyo
Tetris.
Tetris, yeah.
PlayStation 4 and Nintendo
and
Switch.
Switch.
And what month is this right now? February.
February still.
Near the end of
So
February.
that's 2 away.
Shortest month though. We're almost done.
Woo.
Almost through it. And we got a code for Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin. I did not pay for it.
Oh,
So you may...
review copy
Good thing to
provided by
say.
PlayStation.
Yeah. Didn't say that before.
Provided by PlayStation.
Ooh, I'm using that one now. Super creepy.
PlayStation.
What did you just say?
PlayStation gave us Nioh. So I'm I don't know how much specificity I'm supposed to discuss it with. I'm not actually that far into the game, but it does a thing that I didn't know
Yep.
it was gonna do about regions.
Ooh.
I think as long as we preface this discussion,
Yeah.
if you don't want to have anything mechanically or structurally ruined for you about Nioh,
Yeah.
this is your warning.
Yeah.
Going to speak a little bit slower.
What about Jones? Can Jones learn about regions?
I think Jones knows about what you're going to describe.
Yeah.
If not, I want to.
When we're
All
done
right, okay,
talking
so
about
you're good.
Nioh,
There's
You're
much,
on board.
Yeah, there's much more I don't know about Nioh than what I do.
when we're
All
done
right.
talking about Nioh, we'll go like this. We'll wave our hands.
Use
and we'll
those
go,
timestamps
"Blah,
in
blah,
the description. They're there if
I'll
you
knock
want to skip
this over when we're done.
Yeah, we'll
talking
spill
about
some
it.
more coffee,
Yeah.
and there'll be an edit.
If you're driving, if you're a listener,
Sorry.
Yeah.
when
When
we
we hear the guys go, oh, when the water
Yeah.
spills
Yeah.
over the table.
yeah.
The next time you spill coffee, if that happens, can you just scream Imagineers when you do it? Thank you.
Imagineers. Anyway, yeah, you travel between regions on a boat, which I didn't know about, which is cool.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that. This game is incredible. I love mechanically. It feels so like. Here's something like Jones talking about Horizon Zero Dawn, right?
Yeah.
This is just there are different human beings on the planet Earth. We have different desires, hopes, dreams, likes, dislikes, and everything that makes him excited about that game turns me off to it even more. Like how talking about, oh, you're running in slow-mo and this guy turns and it looks super cool and menacing, and I'm like, that sounds really cinematic and I would like that moment, but I do not want to play that game because like I I've come to realize that I do not like it when games mess with time. I mean, unless that's the core mechanic, like Superhot, whatever. But like, I like Souls and Bloodborne and Nioh and games like that where the combat is the combat. The world is never changed. It's just your skill, the buttons you're pressing, and that's how it is.
I also feel like, in general, you don't like it when games take control away from you.
No.
At all. I mean, for the most part, I'm thinking about the games that you've really gotten behind, pretty much from minute one to the last minute. You have direct control over everything you're doing.
Yeah. Unless there's a very clear, like, this is a CG cinematic now, you know, because, like, Souls does do that sometimes, but that's like, this is a scene now. Like, you know, that I don't mind. But if I'm playing a game and the camera suddenly is like over there now and like I can't turn the camera anymore, I'm like, oh God. Like there are a few exceptions like Bound that didn't bother me as much. I for sure, like in the beginning when you're going down the bridge and the title shows up, I for sure tried to move the camera. I'm like, why is the camera over there now? And I tried to put it back and then I was like, oh, they're doing a thing. I'm in a bit. Fine. But like, you know, so it does take me out of the game. It has the opposite effect, I think, of what they're trying to do. Last Guardian did it sometimes where it's just like, I don't like this, stop doing this. But yeah, that's big for me.
So with that being said, Nioh has cutscenes in a way that those other games that you like don't in the same way, and it is trying to tell a more explicit story without getting into specifics. How do you feel about that stuff and how it's presented?
The weird thing with Nioh is I love all that stuff because it does feel like it has a weird throwback vibe to it. The text intros and outros of levels are really fun to me. They set up the story in a cool way, and I don't have to do a cutscene, you know? It's just read this little thing like, oh, my son lost this sword. Go get this sword, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And it also fits in with the little encyclopedias, the monster encyclopedias, and
I kind of love that
I
stuff.
love it. It's like so quaint. It's great. Like you meet a character, and then now there's another paragraph about that character in the little whatever dossier, and you can read about it. I love it. But then that is paired with this very modern feeling gameplay, like control and mechanical systems based kind of, you know, very intense, hard gameplay and combat style, while also pairing that with level-based, mission-based stuff, which I normally don't like. I don't usually like mission-based gameplay like that, you know, because usually I'm just kind of like, ugh, now I got to do this. But here, I don't know, it all just comes together in a package that makes me feel like I'm playing Souls and Onimusha, and I feel like I'm me back in 2000 or whatever with my friend Brandon playing Downward Spiral on over our shoulders while we're playing Onimusha 2.
Yeah.
And like also I'm me now playing Bloodborne and just loving it. It's great.
You're so right about that fusion because the way some of the story beats and how they present some of the villains, it's like you haven't done this since Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
Like I thought we as an industry just didn't do this anymore, and you're like, no, we like note for note, we are going to present this stuff.
It's interesting what old mechanics that Nioh has that to me are valid because of just how damn fun that game is to play. Like the whole concept of like, you beat this level, now go back and play it, and it'll be a little different. Most of the time I'm like, no, why would I do that? Like I'm just gonna move on and check out the next thing. Where it's like, we're gonna change time of day and add some more pirates in this level instead of monsters. And I'm like, let's do it. Like I cannot wait to do that. It's actually tough for me to keep moving on because I'll finish an area, it'll unlock a different part, I'll play that, it'll unlock a third one. It's like, I gotta move on. I can't keep going back.
The story-based reconceptualizations of levels are really neat. Like, earlier levels, they'll be like, hey, we thought you dealt with this problem here, but now a bunch of bandits have overridden it. Can you go, like,
these poor villagers.
Kill their leader? They're like, take their leader out, and hopefully that'll calm this down. So then you go into the level, and you start at the end.
Yeah.
And go backwards, and like certain areas are on fire now, so you just can't go over there.
Or not on fire.
Right.
There might be like a giant thing that blocked you from getting to this area the first time you encountered the level, and now that all that's gone, so you can really go anywhere. It's fun to just little tiny things that change it up.
It's great.
Jones, when you said you didn't mind going back in a way that you could kind of maybe ignore in other games, I think a big part of why it works so well is you do have those side missions that take a while, you know, half hour, an hour. There are a lot of other side missions though where you're done in 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
and that feels really good.
It's cool. Like I jumped into a side mission and beat it without even realizing that was my my objective. You know, I was like, oh, I was just supposed to kill that treasure monster. Cool.
Just this quick little hit.
Yeah.
Check it off the list.
Yeah.
Get some good stuff. Move on.
And I do think that it feels rewarding in this game because it's so systems based and like combat skill whatever based, and the skill trees are very, very interesting, intricate, and they impact the game in big ways.
Yeah.
Like unlocking the different you can do a key pulse to regain your stamina, basically, if you time it right. And unlocking the thing in the different medium, high, and low stances that you can do it even when dodging. Mm-hmm. And that carries over to other stances, as far as I can tell. That kind of stuff where it's like, this is changing the gameplay.
That's the lesson I learned on today's stream.
Right.
It was the dodging key pulse.
Yeah. It's the way to do it. And like, especially the way I play, like I wasn't great at playing the Peacekeeper in For Honor because I just want to dodge everywhere, you know? And that's how I play Nioh, and key pulsing while dodging is so good. Yeah.
I was a little bit weirded out that there were certain things that I had to unlock. I was a bit surprised that I had to unlock the parry, that I had to unlock the dodge key pulse, that I had to unlock the backstab. Did that seem weird to you, or were you okay with it?
I thought it was weird at first that you had to unlock dodge key pulse for every weapon, but then apparently you don't, I guess, because I have it unlocked for all the other weapons now. So, yeah. Yes and no, I guess. Unlocking backstab and stuff like that is a little weird, but you can unlock it pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And the thing I like in this, at first I was irritated by, they were level gating, mission gating certain skills where it's like, you can't have this until you've beaten this mission. Right. And at first I was like, well, that's some stupid BS. Like, I'm getting better. Let me just use my points that I'm earning fair and square on these skills, you monsters. But then the story is like, you're a white guy. You're in Japan. You're not a samurai. You don't know what you're doing. And the missions that unlock those other skills are, you met this badass samurai and he teaches you these, he unlocks these skills for you by teaching them to you. Then I'm like, okay, like I'm not thrilled about it, but it's still like in the story justified in a cool way.
I also think from a design perspective, I can imagine Nioh 2 just being like, okay, you can learn magic right away, you can learn ninjutsu right away, all this stuff you get right at the gate. Where it's just in Nioh 1, it's so mechanically heavy and there's so much for you to learn. I understand kind of getting that stuff out.
And it was an adjustment because I played all the betas and stuff, and so I'm like, I already know how to do this.
Right, that is the weird thing.
I unlocked this skill already in the beta. Right. Let me have it now. I want it. Like, I need to do this with my swords. But
I want to play this game very bad right now in this moment. I'm enjoying this podcast. I really like hanging out with you.
Yeah.
But well, for some reason, just in the last 30 seconds.
That's why I started.
It was like I'm going to let you finish, but.
If I could choose right now to walk through the front gates of Disneyland and play Nioh, I would play Nioh.
Well, that's why I brought up Disneyland in the first place. My sister was like, well, let's do something. Let's go to Disneyland. And I'm like, yeah, we can. And she's like, well, I don't want to twist your arm.
You can watch me play Nioh for 6 hours.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to twist your arm if you don't want to go. I'm like, I do want to go. And she's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, honestly, I want to sit here and play Nioh, but
I want to pose a question to you, Ian, to Brandon. I've seen some negative backlash against just the sheer amount of stuff that you pick up in Nioh.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like it's too much? I like it for a very specific reason.
There's one thing that you heard me griping about in Bloodborne that I love that Nioh does, and actually Horizon does, which I really appreciate, which is in everything that drops in Bloodborne is a little white circle. Even if you physically cannot pick that up, it'll still be like, pick me up. And it's like, I would love in Bloodborne 2 if things were like color coded. So like a red thing would be like, you have this, you're maxed out on these arrows or weapons or ammo or something, so don't even bother going over there. Or like, this is super rare, go get that. You know, like some kind of marker. Because there were things like little animals I would hit in Horizon and be like, nope, and move along. Like I didn't have to waste the 10 steps to go over, check it, no, I got it, walk away. So I love that it's like, ooh, purple staff. Like even when it just hits the ground, I can see, like, oh, I want to pick that stuff up.
Yeah. It is cool that you can see it. I don't, it gets a little much when you're just trying to figure out what you need and what you don't need. But I have the weapon I like, the weapon style. You know,
What are those? What are your
I like
weapons?
dual swords. I've been using the dual katanas or dual tachi or whatever. And sometimes I'll use an axe for big slow guys just because they do more damage quicker. That was your advice that I actually quite liked. But yeah, it does get to be a bit much when I'm like, I was going through and I was trying to sell some stuff. And I was just like, oh man, I've got like 400 shoes or whatever. And I'm just like, oh, bah. But you can hold down X or whatever it is and just up through the menu and it'll highlight everything to sell. But then you don't get enough money for it to matter. I was doing Soul Forge a lot until I realized that it's bonkers expensive.
It is bonkers expensive.
Like I had a sword, a dual tachi. I think they're tachi. I had a dual katana, whatever, that I really like because it put paralysis on people. And for little guys, you're key stunning them and you're putting paralysis on them. Like they don't stand a chance, you know. And so I kept just soul matching this sword up levels. You know,
and then
I kept
you get to a point where
more.
you go, I'm just out of money.
And now I'm at like 30 something and it needs 209 gold. And I'm like, whoa. Because for the first part of the game, I'm like, I have so much gold.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I don't have enough gold.
Ben, I have to ask a favor of you.
Yes.
It's sometime during the day before you leave my house. If you could show me what the hell is going on in the blacksmith. I have booted that menu up on 3 separate occasions.
She'll
and I'm just
explain
like,
it.
So, yeah, but
I
no,
don't
Brandon,
know.
as I was reviewing it, I had that moment, and I think the way Nioh presents it, it's very intimidating to the point where, like, oh, I'm just gonna go off and do this mission. It took me a while to figure it out, but it is not as intimidating as it seems.
Okay.
I don't think the explanations that the game gives you are very good. I think they make it seem more intricate than it actually is. But yeah, we can absolutely.
Because there's a
run
big
through that
difference
stuff.
between you can do all these things and you should just really focus on this one. You can do this over here, but it's not going to be as effective as what you were just explaining, which I have no idea how to do. Where you're just
wonder
taking the weapon you like and making it cooler,
Making
or
it
taking
better,
an
yeah.
attribute and moving it to another weapon. And
I would argue the thing that might be the most important, and you could make counter arguments against this, is reforging.
okay,
Really?
Because I see some people in Nioh just being like, okay, this just does more damage. All right, I'm done. The special effects that you can get are so powerful.
Yeah.
And reforging, what it lets you do is the number of special effects that you have is determined by rarity of gear. So the rarer it is, the more things that it can do. You can re-roll all of those forever as long as you have the materials and the cash. And so you just want to keep doing that until you get a nice set of special effects that just destroys everything.
So really what I should be
that.
doing is instead of trying to boost the thing with effects I like, take that high level super rare item that I just got that's like level 1,000,000 or whatever and re-roll that to get poison or something on it.
Yeah, but different types of like certain weapons scale off certain stats, and so it's not quite that simple. Like it's not completely universal, but yeah, you do want rarer gear so you can get all those things. But then there's this extra layer where you start getting set gear.
Yeah.
And the set
Like
bonuses
Diablo.
can be
Yeah,
insane, and you'll get more bonuses for the more pieces of that set that you equip.
Hit L2 to look at the set
Yes.
bonuses. It took me forever to notice that.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yep.
I was like, okay, I see that I have Warrior of the West
What?
activated, but what the hell does that mean?
what I discovered today, which wasn't in the beta, is the extra like ninja bonuses you get, or something. What do they call them?
Ninjutsu?
Samurai.
Not ninjutsu. Yeah, the
Samurai
samurai
skill
skills.
points.
Oh, samurai skill points.
That
Yeah.
has,
That was in the
that has their own separate thing that gives you little random options of stuff you can
Yep.
pick, and that has a whole second page.
Yep.
So I would like the little exclamation point at the top of the menu that's like, you have another skill point, samurai skill point. And I would go in and be like, no, I don't, and then back out. And today I was just going through the menus really fast, and chat was like,
Oh,
Jones!
no, you're talking
And I'm
about-
like, what? They're like, go hit R1. And I'm like,
You're talking
and
about
I had like 8
titles.
points to spend. Like, yeah, the titles.
You're talking about titles.
Oh yeah.
Samurai skill points, very different. Titles, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I don't really know, but those stack, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like if you unlock new skills, they add to the other skills. They don't overwrite them. Yeah. Those
It
are
is somewhat similar, fairly similar to the Diablo 3 Prestige.
Yeah.
system.
Yes. Yeah. Very much. Yeah. Anyway, Neo's great.
Do either of you have any closing thoughts on Nioh?
I just want to play it more.
I do like I find with all the EZA work that I have to do that I can get a little anxietal about like games I want to play, games I'm trying to have time to play.
Anxious.
And when I get I do get anxious, but and not to mention if it's like 2 a.m. and like I feel like I have that time, you know, a little bit extra to stay up late and play something where it's like I should be getting sleep, I should be getting rest, and so it is kind of nice to have that boss that just bitch slaps me, and I'm like, all right, you know, it's like
done.
we're supposed to something like Horizon where it's just like there's not a lot that's stopping me from this experience. I'm constantly just absorbing it and binging, like, when am I going to stop playing this game? And it's nice to have the game be like, go to bed. And I'm like, yes, Nioh, sorry.
Yes, Nioh.
Go to
You're
bed.
tired, Jones. You're
Yes,
out.
mistress.
Go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta stop playing Nioh at like... I like to be in bed by 1:30, you know? So I have to stop playing games like Souls or Nioh at like 12:30 just to get my heart rate to like slow back down so I can actually...
Or have one of these guys pop up in a dream of mine. Say.
Yeah.
Like, a
I don't
yokai
dream.
just pops up when I'm...
My sleep schedule is destroyed.
Yeah.
It's just not in good shape. I gotta get back on track. I know, Jones, your sleep schedule has been. I don't know if it's currently destroyed, but I know it has.
Last couple
been.
days have been lovely.
Oh,
I got didn't even need that cup of coffee. I spilled over. I was
well,
like,
it's a good
sure, I'll
thing.
have some coffee.
It's a good thing.
It smells delicious.
I can't remember the
Now the
last time
table smells like it.
I got just like a nice 8-hour rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I prioritize that.
Yeah, you should. That's a healthy thing to do.
Like, you know, it's
do
2 or 3.
feel
I'm like, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what
It
is
hasn't
wrong
affected
right
your body.
now. Yeah. Anyway.
So I've been playing a couple games.
Ah.
That the first one, Jones, I feel exactly like you feel with Horizon.
Okay.
Where I'm worried I'm going to sound a lot more negative on it than I actually am. And that's Halo Wars 2.
Oh.
I want to make this very simple up front. I think Halo Wars 2 is a good game. I'm enjoying it. I didn't know what to expect with it. Halo Wars 2 is one of those games where this is a game I got a code for.
Yep.
When Blood shot that code at me like a cannon, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was going to be. And I played Halo Wars 1, and I liked Halo Wars 1, but it kind of felt like a singular thing. Maybe they're just going to do this weird RTS thing once. Halo Wars 2 is making me realize that I miss real-time strategy games a lot, and that's a strange thing to say because they're not dead, but I don't think it's unfair to state that they are not at the same place they once were. And
I think that's unfair.
You think that's unfair?
Yep.
Wow.
Name
Okay, why is
a
that?
top tier RTS that everyone's playing right now.
There's like 3 from Sega, and they're all just like Rome Total War and Total this, Total that,
Warhammer.
Warhammer.
Yeah, but that's
yeah.
not like StarCraft
I get you.
2 one level of like
StarCraft-
popularity.
StarCraft 2 came out, what, 2 years ago? The last chunk of it?
The last chunk of it, yeah, but we started the StarCraft 2 train a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in Rome Total War, the Total War series in general, totally,
Yeah.
yes, real-time strategy, that is true.
Yeah.
But it is I'm talking about a very specific, you build a base.
The Command and Conquer.
Yeah, the Command and Conquer kind of style, the StarCraft, the Warcraft style, that sort of specific thing. There was Grey Goo relatively recently, which I have not played. So maybe I am being unfair.
I'm sorry, what?
Grey Goo.
Grey
What it's
Goo.
called.
Grey Goo is
Yeah.
in their game?
Yes.
Yes.
The
Grey Goo-
A very hyped RTS. I heard a lot about the year.
That's
Yeah.
a bad name, Grey
No,
Goo.
no, it's not. Grey Goo is like a thing. It's an AI kind of like the Singularity. It's like a future panic, doomsday scenario where like nanomachines could get to the point where they can replicate so much and they would need to take other materials from other things to replicate themselves. And it would get to the point where literally everything would be... I mean, I might be not exactly right on all this, but like it would get to the point where literally everything would just be this gray goo, quote unquote, where it's just a sea of nanobots because literally all other machinery or literally all the other materials have been consumed to create more nano machines.
So then name it Stop the Grey Goo.
Whatever.
Somebody please stop the Grey Goo.
Grey goo is a known quantity.
Can
is
somebody
all I'm
please
saying.
stop the Grey Goo? Please.
Would
Well,
somebody
come on,
please
man.
stop this damn goo?
The hot new RTS.
Yeah.
I accept that criticism, though. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe a better way to frame it is, I wish I was playing more RTS games. That's how I feel. It made me
Sure.
long for this specific style of game, and I realized that I didn't play Legacy of the Void, and now I really wish I had. I mean, I messed around with it a little bit, but I didn't sit through and finish that story, dig into the multiplayer, and I'm experiencing some regret. What are you thinking, Kyle?
I was thinking about that box and the "Can somebody please stop the Grey Goo" is such a good title.
That is a better title, yeah.
Exclamation point.
Because it ain't gonna be me.
You could say this about Halo Wars 1 as well, but the thing I am most ecstatic about with Halo Wars 2 is it feels great with the controller. Like in battle, there are moments where it has this sort of rock paper scissors system where infantry is good against air units are good against vehicles, and vehicles are good against infantry. And so there are times where you're kind of encouraged to be like, okay, I've got this big mixed group of units. I'm going to select this thing. I'm going to split off my army here so they can defend my base while I go and I attack this point. I'm zipping all around the map, micromanaging these units, using special abilities that they have without much difficulty at all. There is a learning process, but it's so well thought out and it just works, and eventually you don't have to think about it. And I haven't played it on PC yet. It is on PC. It's that, the cross-buy kind of thing that Microsoft is doing with Xbox and PC. But I thought maybe when I booted up Halo Wars 2, knowing that I could play it on PC, I'd be like, all right, enough of this. I gotta play it with a mouse and keyboard, and I'm not feeling that way at all. I also think the setup is good. And Jones, I know you're a Halo fan. So it's set after Halo 5.
Wait, hold on. Jones, are you a Halo fan? That was a weird reaction.
I have not caught up with the Halo. I did not play the last game at all. Well, the exception with the Warzone, I played it.
That's not an unfounded statement. I remember,
but I cut a Halo retrospective. I have played Combat Evolved like 20 times. Like
I know at least for
just
the original
lore
Halo
of the series, especially when 4 first started getting announced. I was like,
sure,
have me. I don't know.
I remember
I'm
you
not dying
really
to get back into the series.
That they
when they called Halo 5 Guardians, I was like,
oh yeah. Halo 5 Guardians.
I hate that.
Anyway, that was just coming from having long conversations with you about Halo that were very enthusiastic.
Yep.
So that's where that statement.
They had a
came from.
reason for that.
Amazing score for the series.
For
Yeah,
Halo
lots to
5
love about Halo.
Guardian.
Because they don't want it, because the Halo 6 is not going to be called Halo 6.
It's going
to be called Halo whatever.
Yeah.
But then don't call Halo 4 Halo 4 then. Especially if you're a new company
But
starting a
that
new
was in the
franchise.
past.
Have a little bit of the forethought to know, let's do this ahead of time and start it now. But you start Halo 4, like, oh, new trilogy. And Halo 5 is going to sub-name, and then 6, we're not doing 6. And you're
Hindsight is 2020, Jonesy.
I don't really give it that much thought.
I love a Jones rant.
Everybody loves a Jones
this.
rant.
But I want to get to
It's a gift to the world.
I like Halo, and then we'll like this about Halo Wars 2.
I think you will. I shouldn't be so definitive about it, but I think
I
you
don't
will.
think you will. He's saying prove it to me right now.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't play Halo Wars 1. I actually, when we did the retro, I had a friend of mine play that.
all right.
You just walked into Jones's office. He's sitting behind his desk, and he's like, "Prove it to me. I'm gonna like this. I'm gonna like this Halo game. Prove it to me."
I'm curious about
Right,
this part
but
where
I haven't
know
gotten to
something.
the prove it part yet.
I know. Yeah, here we go.
So here we go. So
Here we go, Jones.
Halo 1, right? You like Halo 1. That's not an unfair thing to say. Part of the reason I like Halo 1 is I feel like it's relatively simple. You can follow that story. Playing Halo 4 and parts of Halo 5, there would be moments in those stories where it's like, wait a minute, I need to go read something on the internet to connect this.
Right.
Especially the didact in Halo 4. Halo Wars 2, very simple. Very straightforward. You're this UNSC crew. You get attacked by this brute. He comes in.
A very specific brute, which I like.
Very specific
From the advertising
brute.
campaign to set up like this
not
is
just
the
not just some
villain.
brute,
Yeah.
not just the Covenant again.
I like that.
Right.
He comes in, he totally destroys you. You save this AI. The AI said, this guy, you have no chance. You cannot do this. Just this big long speech about how outnumbered you are. And then you have this captain that says, nope, that's not our way. We're going to fight. And then you learn this guy is named Atriox, and he was this legendary hero. And he kept doing battle after battle, and he kept winning. But as he kept fighting, he was going, you know what? I don't like the Covenant. I don't like the humans, and I don't like the Covenant. I'm going to strike out on my own, and I'm powerful enough to do that. And they make him seem like a big deal. And when you get into a fight with him, you're kind of excited about it because there's appropriate build-up there.
Yeah.
So that's my pitch. How do you feel?
Is that the end fight, or do you like get him? You run into an Act 1, you get owned.
No. So there's 12 missions. I've played through 7 of the 12 missions.
Okay.
What they do is you fight sort of his second in command early on, but you don't fight him specifically.
Cool. Yeah.
Can you befriend him at any point and then take down
If I select
humans
heart instead
and
of fist, what happens?
the Covenant.
That hasn't happened yet.
That'd be cool. Yeah, if you select brain and take over everybody with him.
But I mean, you bring that up to me, and then I'm hoping that maybe there's one map where like his forces are in the middle, Covenant's on one side, I'm on the other, and like there's 3 parties. Like maybe he might get in trouble with the Covenant every now and then, and like step across their forces.
So,
no spoilers, but
the way that I set this up is I said it was a good setup.
Okay.
I did not say
Okay.
this
Here we
is
go.
an amazing story.
Right.
Because, again, 7 out of 12 missions, I don't know how it wraps up. I don't know how that last, whatever, 40%, whatever it is, works out. Because I feel like they sort of pit you against this thing, and then that's it. There's not really, because in like Halo 1, for example, so far there isn't that flood moment where it's this whole new factor or it kind of turns things on its head. It's just kind of, all right, we're having this fight, and it doesn't feel like it really has this big consequence on the rest of the Halo universe. It just sort of seems like this one battle that's going to be a footnote in later things, and there's not enough to it yet where it's really going to stick out. So that's a concern that I have. But I could get on this next episode, or I could, in the review, say, hey, that's totally wrong in the way it all wraps up in that last half of the game.
That's always the
totally
hard thing to do, right? Because Master Chief isn't there, so like how important could it be? It's like the Marvel Extended Universe. It's like, well, the Avengers aren't dealing with this. Jessica Jones can handle it, so it's probably not that big of a deal.
Right.
Nothing against Jessica Jones. That's just an example, but like, it's always hard to balance.
Doctor
that
Strange
kind
will
of
show up and retcon all this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, you just zip in, change the entire fabric of space time, and
How fun would an RTS be with only 3 buttons that are brain, heart, and fist? And I'm just thinking of like pro esports where they're just like clicking fist,
fight,
fist,
fight,
fist,
fight,
fist,
love,
fist,
fight,
fist,
fight.
fist, 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 and some guy's just like, I always click brain, and so it's just like the best guy in the world just clicks brain really fast.
The heart is you don't fight back, but hearts appear above all of their units.
Yeah.
So as you're mowing them down with fist, and it's just fist, 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 you know that they're just accepting it,
Yeah.
and you have to feel guilty.
It's a
about it.
You have to feel guilty
psychological
about it.
victory.
Yeah.
So a lot of people they like hesitate on it.
Right.
And so you're strong if you can keep clicking fist while you see those hearts. That make you a good esports player.
What I don't like about this game is that you have to just randomly mash the buttons all the time.
Yeah, it's about DPS for sure.
Can you imagine those
Are you
interviews
moving
Yeah.
with the esports player? Those headlines used to be a heart, then he learned how to be a fist.
You have like a shirt that's like the red circle with a line through it, a heart, and
Yeah.
Team Fist.
Never click heart.
Yeah.
I never click heart.
The secret to beating a heart player is just hit fist way more, and don't worry that you're just massacring all these hearts. It's just little pixels on screen. It doesn't affect you.
We calculated 1,248 button presses on that turn. That was really good.
Yeah.
Looking to beat that next round.
It's always interesting when you're in the middle of reviewing a game, because you always have that doubt where you feel like you have a good understanding, but there's that sensation where you go, maybe this just gets fixed, or maybe if I played it this way, I wouldn't have this concern. Because I'm playing through on normal right now, and I don't think the missions are great. So I talked to you about that rock, paper, scissors dynamic, and really all I've had to do in pretty much every single mission so far is just build up a bunch of units, make sure I'm not leaving my base undefended, slam them into the enemy. If they get depleted, I'll refill. And I think part of the reason why it feels so straightforward is you have these sort of special abilities. You can just hit the left trigger and call down these really, really, really powerful things. One of those things is this big circle where you just heal enemies. So you get in a tough fight. All right, I just have this ability that I can use. I pop it and I'm healing everybody. You can call down missiles that just wreck everything. You can call down ODSTs, which is like a nice instant replushing of units. Like you don't have to go back to the base and queue up all these units. Just like, no, I've got all these ODSTs. They're right here. And so I guess I'm craving a little bit more depth is where I'm at with that. And
Some strategy.
some strategy. Yeah. It's kind of
the S.
But I'm not having a bad time. Like there's some kind at a basic level, building up this big army and slamming into units is fun.
You're clicking
And
fists,
you're,
man.
You're clicking fists.
Yeah.
Right. There's
Clicking
some basic pleasure in that. It's not meaningless. But again, I've only played on normal. You know, you kind of start reviews on normal, I feel like most of the time. So I want to check out heroic and legendary and see how those pan out. The other thing that I feel like I'm not completely qualified to comment on is Blitz. But I have some concerns. And just to get this out of the way, I'm still not used to the idea of $60 games having microtransactions.
What's
No ma-
Blitz?
So in Blitz, it's a card-based multiplayer mode where you
This is
pick...
still in Halo 2.
This is still in Halo Wars
Halo
2.
Wars 2.
Yeah. So you have your regular multiplayer where it is as you would expect. You're both building up armies and clashing against each other. In Blitz, you have a deck. It is referred to as a deck, and you open packs and get cards. And you have cards for specific leaders. So think about, you know, how in Hearthstone, classes have specific cards that only they can use. It's like that. What you do in Blitz is you sort of draw a hand, and that's random. That hand may be units that you can just instantly plop into the field, like warthogs or marines or something like that. Or it might be along the lines of the special abilities that I was talking about earlier, those restoration drones that will heal units. You have a finite amount of energy. Depending on the power level of the card that you're using, that energy will be depleted. So let's say to call in, I don't remember exactly, I'm just using an example. Let's say you're calling in Marines and that's 30 energy. And let's say you have 100 energy. That means you only have 70 energy left to spend.
Can you ever get other cards that give you energy?
Yes, kind of.
You
So
can buy energy.
when you use a card, you get another card in your hand. So it's like you drew a card. You can also, let's say there's a card in your hand that you don't like. You can like scrap that to get a little bit of energy. There's also energy that pops up on the map, and you can go and get that to get more. But you can't just build something that gives you energy. So let's say you and I are versing each other. The strategy is, like, let's say you go with a rush where you just spend all of your energy right away and try to overwhelm me.
Right.
You can do that, or you can try to play a little bit more coy and kind of like kite me around the map, something like that. And so it's kind of a cool idea, but then you have this whole free-to-play aspect that I haven't spent enough time with it where I can say this is balanced or this is unbalanced. But it's one of those things in the $60 games where you feel apprehensive. You almost can't help yourself.
And what are you buying? You're buying just other cards? Random packs?
So you're buying packs.
Okay.
And you don't know what you will get from those packs. But the other thing, so you get a ton for just playing through the main story. You get tons and tons and tons of packs, and so I feel like you do get a lot of cards without spending any money. But the weird thing is, and I haven't put a ton of time into it, but when you get duplicate cards, you level those cards up, and they get stronger. But it's very vague. I don't know what. I've looked at the cards very closely. It doesn't tell me, all right, this is the difference between a level 2 and a level 3 card. I don't know. And so if you spend more money and you buy more packs and you level up your cards more, you have an advantage, it seems like. That's weird.
Yeah.
And
It's
something
like
I would question.
It's like poker, and you both have a pair of kings, and you go, my kings are level 2.
Right, exactly. It's exactly like that.
Yeah, how can that be balanced?
At level 7, you are tournament ready?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
So wait, is this the esports version of this game?
I don't know.
What do you mean
that's
I'm
just
tournament
that's their
ready?
wording. Is your tournament ready?
I thought Blitz was just a mode for goofs.
That's the wording that is used.
Now they're tournament goofs.
Can you go above level 7?
You can, but my understanding, and I hope I'm getting this right, my understanding is past level 7, the jumps between levels are greatly diminished.
Sorry, wait.
And so
is this card levels or your levels?
card level, so every card has its own
has
level.
to be, does that mean every card has to be 7 to be tournament ready? Whatever that means?
At level 7, you are tournament ready, and every level past that is greatly diminished. So I think the idea, or how it seems, based on what I've seen and what I've read, is if you have a deck full of level 7 cards, you can compete fairly evenly.
Weird. That's weird.
But if you don't spend money, it'll take a long time to get to level 7.
Well, I haven't gotten
Have you gotten any card to level 7?
No, not yet.
Well, there you go.
But I haven't heavily
Right.
invested in the mode. I'm gonna
Right.
have that period of time where it's like, okay, I'm focusing exclusively on Blitz. Whereas right now I'm trying to get through the story, and it's like, okay, I've messed around with multiplayer, I've messed around with Blitz, but I haven't had those.
So level 7 is just the point of diminishing returns. Where
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
not worth doing.
But again,
Wow.
what frustrates me about this, and what makes it maybe worse than it actually is they're not telling me specifically, all right, here's the differences between all of these cards. It's just this
Yeah.
vague wording where it's like, okay, now you're tournament ready, and if you're not here, you're not, and there'll be diminishing turns past that point. And so it seems like this vague language is just an effort to get you to spend money. Because
Yeah.
you have that maybe an anxiety where it's like, well, no, if I'm going
I'm not
to compete
tournament ready,
online, I'm
I
not
gotta-
tournament ready.
I don't like anything about that.
Yeah.
What you doing, Kyle?
Because the other day I saw there was a tournament on Xbox's Twitch channel, and I did check it out, and it was Blitz. But that was just the Halo Wars 2 Blitz challenge. So I don't know for sure. I can't say definitively if the definitive version of the game is Blitz or not.
Right.
I really assumed it was just a side goof
It had a
mode.
lot of views.
Not
47.
the archives don't have a lot of views,
Oh.
but it had I think like 6,000 people watching live,
Oh, okay. Well, that's
watching this Blitz mode. Hopefully, some tournament ready cards in play.
I'll tell you one thing, real quick
Yeah.
aside. I bought the Arkham Horror card game, which is a living card game, sort of like Netrunner. And they have packs that you buy, and it's like you have your deck. It's a deck builder. You go forward through campaigns, but the decks are. It's a living card game, so it's not random packs. So you buy this deck, and you know every card that's going to be in it. I like that style a lot because then you're like, okay, I need to build this kind of deck. I'm trying to do this, and I wonder if that sort of thing would work in a game like this.
Because with that, it's like, okay, I'm building towards this level 7 goal. I know exactly what I'm getting, and it just seems like the path there is more straightforward. And, you know, I can imagine some comments on this podcast where people who have spent a lot more time
Yeah.
in Blitz saying, hey, it's not that bad, I'm competing just fine. I can imagine all those comments, but I still think this is something worth discussing because in a $60 game, just that initial impression, it just kind of makes you feel a little gross, and that's
Yeah.
not
Of
nothing.
course.
Even if after going through the hoops and figuring it all out, you're like, all right, I guess it's not that big of a deal. Up front, it just feels so bad. It's giving me a negative first impression.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel that way about For Honor as well. You know,
Oh.
when I'm in the fights and I'm taking on dudes, I love it. But then just figuring out, all right, what is this gear? I guess you can pay for this stuff. What does that get you? It's just this whole
Oh, I didn't know
extra
you could pay at
thing
all.
that isn't directly related to the moment-to-moment gameplay. That it just kind of feels like a burden.
Let me ask you this: what is better in your mind to have I mean, I kind of know the answer already, but a Let It Die style, free out of the gate, and you love it until you're like, brick wall, this is too expensive, I'm done, or a $60 game that has in-app purchases like this that make you feel gross, but you're like, I can also kind of just ignore that. Like, what would you rather have, I guess?
I would personally rather have the Let It Die situation because I think Let It Die is kind of confusing as well. There's multiple currencies.
Yeah.
The online multiplayer. Like there's a lot to figure out.
Yeah.
And it is a hurdle. But I feel like when you say, all right, here's this game, it's free. You go in with that expectation.
Yeah.
And if you get to that stuff and you know you don't like it, you can just bail and
Yeah.
feel like, all right, I didn't spend any money. I know
Yeah.
this isn't for me. And that flexibility, being able to do that is the difference where it's like, man, I really like Halo. They just approach this from a casual level Halo fan. I just want the story. I just want to see Spartans, hijack units, all of that stuff. I think that's a valid way to approach this game. But now you can just ignore this mode, but this thing that you spent $60 on, to ignore it because of this stuff, that just feels weird. You know?
And it's like the Zelda DLC where you have a Switch T-shirt that Link can wear.
Mm-hmm.
It's poisoning your Switch by existing on it.
I think that's it. If you have a full price game that has microtransactions in it, it doesn't matter how brilliantly those microtransactions are implemented. It sucks. It
Yeah.
diminishes the accessibility of your game.
Yes.
It will drop a score. It will, poison the waters of your community. It will be bad, bad, bad. You can counter that by making it obvious what it is. So I think what offends me more about what I'm hearing about Halo Wars 2 is not so much that it's in the game, that it's like mudding the waters of PvP, where you get a sense of like, I just got beat. Did I get beat because I'm bad, or did I get beat because they have better stats?
Right.
The fact that you don't know, the fact that you're like, I got to play more of this to understand its significance.
Right.
The fact that you don't know the significance immediately.
Yes.
And I think that's a lot of companies will put these kind of microtransactions in there. It's like, how can we dress this up to make it seem like we're screwing you less? And I think the attitude that you have to have is, hello, gamer, welcome to the part of the game where we screw you. We're going to screw you exactly like this. So I know, I'm not even going to bother with this. Or, okay, all right, I'll let you screw me there a little bit.
Well,
it's like
FIFA.
Because that's the thing, like I play a lot of free-to-play mobile games, and the ones that I stick to and play for the longest are the ones that right away I could tell, like, oh, yeah, screw that crystal, I'm not earning that.
Right.
Because it's just not worth it. It's like very clear, like, you do this, you get this, you give us money, you get this.
Right.
Well, it comes back
agree
to
with everything you just
to the gameplay versus cosmetic stuff too. Like, I have no problem at all with cosmetic in-app purchases.
Yeah.
None whatsoever, because they don't impact the gameplay, especially in a multiplayer setting. But yeah, where it gets murky is like, hey, you're better if you own this.
Which is like the speeding up level.
Right.
Of like, everyone gets the same thing, you give us money, you get faster.
Right.
The go to hell version
Yeah.
is, you give us money, you get this, no one else
Your
gets that
gun is
ever.
better,
Unless
yeah.
they give us money,
Yeah.
and it will make you better at this multiplayer game.
Yeah.
It's
Wh-
like,
when you think about Let It Die, 100% of it, the business model plays a factor. And as you go through Let It Die, they explain step by step all of the different ways that they're monetizing that game. Whereas in Halo Wars 2, 75% of it, you don't have to think about it. It's just this other weird 25%
Yeah.
that feels like it doesn't belong. That makes you feel so
But
weird.
look at the themes, though. It's like for
Yeah,
Halo Wars
that's what I
2,
was
you have
gonna
this
say,
like
yeah.
narrative thing where it's like you got your team got beat by this guy. You're trying to take over this rogue Covenant madman. And like we got to band together and make that happen. Like that's your goal to get to the end of this. You get into Let It Die, and it's like you all suck. You're in this tower. Get to the top. Ha ha ha. Like that seems
Yeah.
like the whole vibe
Like,
of that.
Right.
So when you encounter
Giving-
some dumb
yeah.
chicken head, what the huh? It's like it's not like, well, this one thing is totally random. It's like everything fits into
Paying-
that.
Giving money to
theme.
Let It Die feels like part of the joke. Like
You getting screwed,
Yeah.
is kind of like
it
the
feels
mantra
like
of
you're
that
giving
game.
them money and you're like, "Pff, yeah.
I mean,
I'm an idiot.
there's an insurance
Like, I love it.
lady who comes
Yeah.
up and says, "Would you like to go into
you-
this deal
yeah,
now?"
yeah.
That is the microtransaction.
Even the lady with the signs, like the
Yes,
do you want to give us
that's
money?
it. That's
Yes.
it. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
Do
the
you want to
insurance
pay us?
lady,
Yes,
yeah.
I have a sign. Yes. It's like it's so condescending,
But-
but,
Right.
I love it.
But the thing is, when you say yes, she goes, "Oh wow, really? Thanks.
You're right.
Your decision
Right.
today was a really good idea.
Right.
And quality decision making is going to be really important
There's
for your
one more
survival.
every minute.
Yeah, it's like it's hilarious. It's great. And until you get to level 23, and then you're just like, oh my
Yeah.
fucking god. Then it gets not fun or fair. But the great thing is, as long as you spent less than $60, you can just bail and Let It Die, and you've had a great time. You've played the game for 10 or 30 hours or whatever for free, and then you say, all right, I'm done. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a good discussion to have, and I think you brought up very, very, very valid points. The thing that I do want to drive home before we move on, however, is this is just how I feel right now.
Right.
And I think that is an interesting perspective, that sort of initial impression as you're working through it. I'm curious to see what changes, if anything changes, by the time I'm like, okay, it's time to sit down and write. The next game that I want to talk about, that I can finally talk about.
Ben, I'm so sorry to add another edit to this. I have
Please.
to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
so
no.
bad. I gotta
It's
go to the
okay.
bathroom so bad.
Kyle, I
I'm
think
squirming.
we're just going to roll right on through.
Okay.
All right?
I'm going to go
But no,
after
don't
he
don't
goes.
apologize for that.
I'll
This is
go
a
after you.
long show. What's up?
I spilled that coffee, but I drank most of it.
The coffee thing, the reason why we stopped is, what are we going to do? Just that moment of panic, you know?
Yeah.
The next game that I've been playing for a while, both Halo Wars 2, and I like that Kyle is doing, both Halo Wars 2 and this game I was provided review codes for, so I did not pay for them. Berserk and the Band of the Hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, is this
Eyes
the
lighting up.
Heroes style
Yes.
one?
So this is the Berserk Muso game. So Berserk
Muso
Dynasty
style,
Warriors
yeah.
is a good way to summarize it.
Less excited.
Yeah, I don't think it's very good.
Ah.
And the reason I don't think it's very good is because it just sort of presents something to you immediately that is extremely simple and repetitive and then doesn't change at all. That is a common criticism for Musou games, but I feel like with Dragon Quest Heroes and Hyrule Warriors, they were trying a little bit harder. I felt like the little wrinkles that they were adding, it was a sincere attempt of, yes, this is primarily a game where you're just mashing your way through hundreds and hundreds of enemies, but here's this weird boss that kind of mixes it up, or here's this level design that isn't just straight up kill everything immediately. You have to think a little bit. You have to use your abilities in a unique way, whereas every level, I've been spending a significant amount of time with this so far. Every level that I've done in the Berserk Musou is nope. It is just mashing my way through. Like, you just shut your brain off until it says mission complete.
Although, narratively speaking,
right,
maybe that's what Guts is feeling anyway. He's trying to repress all of this anguish and emotional ferocity through violence.
Well, and that does speak very much to the character of Guts, because he has a moment early on in that series where he goes, I'm just content swinging around my sword. Yeah. So in a way that works. It doesn't make for a very interesting game,
because he discovered that anytime he swung around his heart, it destroys him. So he decided to only swing around fist. He mashes fist.
You gotta hit brain.
He never hits brain.
I'm going to throw a little bit of a wrench in that context argument there, because there are missions where you can play as Griffith or Casca or other characters that aren't just the Guts.
When is this game set?
So it kind of is...
Golden Age?
It really focuses heavily on Golden Age, but it goes well beyond that.
Oh.
Into past that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
can you still pick all those characters after that?
Well, it depends on the context of the situation, what state those characters are in.
Oh, okay.
So you're getting more characters as you're going along. But in the Golden Age arc, you can pick Griffith and Casca and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh God, now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm thinking of the Gundam Musou game, and the reason I wasn't into it is
we streamed that. I remember that.
Well, that was actually a whole different game.
A long time ago.
Oh, you streamed that?
I remember seeing that during a stream, and we were like sitting there watching it, and I was like, "Wow, this is just real samey."
Yeah, it shouldn't be that easy to take down a Zaku, and you're just like slashing through them hordes of Zaku, and you don't even see the pilots scream. It was I wanted to see those pilots screaming back at me, like they do in the show. They're like, because it adds some context and
you get
the weight of
you want to feel the kills.
Yeah. There's a point early on in Berserk where Guts fights this demon, and he just is nothing compared to this giant demon. And up until that point, Guts was kind of this warrior that could beat the odds, that people were saying, you can't do this, you can't take on all these guys, and he definitely did it. But here, he really struggles in this fight, and in the game, that's not the case. I'm just approaching it the same way that I approach all of the other enemies. Like, I might dodge an attack once or twice, but it doesn't feel like a struggle the way that it is presented in
that's a bummer.
The main story.
Because Guts even still, like, they're in the manga and in the animes, he, like, changes up his strategy sometimes, He'll do other stuff,
Right.
And games like Nioh and stuff, like, even if the enemy variety isn't always hugely filled with variety, you still have to do different strategies,
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's like a Shadow of Mordor where you're just mashing square, that sucks.
And there's this whole other system where you equip...
Shadow of Mordor.
I was just waiting for somebody to...
Yeah, that was a low blow.
Get after me for...
That was an uncalled for low blow.
Kicking that game while it was down. I'm sorry, Shadow of Mordor, you're not good.
Game of the year, though.
A lot of people
Game of the year, though.
I like this one by one procession of
now the audio's probably
bathroom. Now the audio's probably jacked. There's this whole other system in the Berserk Musou where you have gear that you can equip. So you've got 3 different slots on your character, and you might get this ring that raises your strength, your defense, that sort of stuff. And you can get materials that make that gear more effective, but just mashing your way through it is so simple that it doesn't feel like that gear has a dramatic effect. So I'm not sitting there like maybe I would in a Nioh where I'm getting these special effects. It's like, no, this is changing my life. I'm going through in Berserk, even after modifying my gear and being like, okay, this would probably be good here. It feels exactly the same. The gameplay feels exactly the same.
Are you going to play more of this game, or are you pretty set?
So I'm going to review it.
Oh, no.
Oh, my.
Don't. Ben, don't.
You just said that out loud.
Yo, let's just say this on the podcast. Don't.
Well, I mean, I decided this a while ago.
Yeah, but like, don't anymore.
You know, it's
not
not-
Yeah.
Well, here's the last thing that I want to say.
Okay.
I love Berserk as a series.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me. It is presented well. The characters look really good, and the way they're presenting the story is pretty thorough. You know, they are making concessions, they are skipping some things, but there's some weird intrinsic value of being a big Berserk fan and seeing this in video game form. Even though it's not very good, I'm getting some sort of satisfaction like that. And when you beat a mission, you can have these conversations with the side characters. And it's like, oh, I remember when they had that conversation in the manga or the anime, or both. And on that level, I hate it in game reviews where it's like, if you're a super big fan, maybe you can extract some enjoyment out of this.
Yeah.
But because I feel like it's lazy, I feel like it's writing it off. But that is honestly kind of how I feel right now, where I'm going to see it through to the end because I love this thing so much, but it's not very good.
Yeah.
Have you had that happen with the game?
Every relationship.
Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah.
I played through the entire thing. I actually kind of liked that story.
Yeah. And I actually think that's another thing that kind of Hyrule Warriors has going for it, where it is its own story.
Yeah.
You know, at least
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that level.
What was it? So this witch is in love with Link, and she can't have him. Happens a lot to Link.
She's such a Tecmo Koei villain.
Yeah.
Like the way that she looks and presents herself is interesting. Another weird thing about this game is, so there are 3 Berserk movies that cover the Golden Age arc. They show you so much of those movies. I thought after I beat a mission, it'd be like, oh, here's a little 30-second clip. It's like, no, some of these I'm watching for minutes and minutes at a time. Like,
And it's literally the movie?
it's just the movie. You're getting
It's a clip from the movie.
I'm surprised at how much of these movies
Wow.
they're showing off.
I mean, they're good movies.
They are good movies, and so that
Shocking
part of it I'm
movies.
kind of enjoying as well. If you optimally go through the missions, you'll get this item, but the only thing that item rewards you is you'll unlock this panel for a picture. It's like, okay, I've got all these panels unlocked. Now I can look at the picture. That's not exciting.
Street Pass.
That's super lame. Yeah.
Well, those are 3D pictures. Come on, those are cool.
Yeah,
Those are cool.
Come on now.
I finished it, by the way.
Street Pass?
Yeah, finished all my puzzles.
That's
They're going to just add more.
you can
It's like,
do
that's-
that?
That's a
Just-
fleeting accomplishment.
They're never going to add more. I think.
Oh my goodness! Then I need to get on that.
I honestly think we're all done.
You're
know?
right.
How many-
Yeah. You're probably right.
This is an unfair
Wow.
thing to ask, but do you know
Yeah.
how many puzzles there are total?
No, I don't. I'd have to load it up. There
dear.
are a lot of puzzles and a lot of puzzle pieces.
And you got them all.
Got them all,
Wow.
which feels really good because
how'd
I had
you feel?
halfway through I had an almost complete collection, and then I lost my 3DS and I had to start all over again.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Good job.
it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to start all over again. Sometimes you just got to pick yourself up. You got to say, I'm
proud
going to
of you. We're
rebuild.
proud
I'm
of you.
going to rebuild myself. I'm going to collect all these puzzle
Bring
pieces.
your 3DS over here more often. I can get those pieces.
All right, I got them all.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, it's a good place to
I
get
got 'em
pieces. Disneyland. I'm kidding.
Get some pieces. It is a
Good
good place to get
line
pieces.
for getting pieces is the Hyperspace Mountain line, because, yeah. I'm just trying to make it
Go to
sound
Single Rider if you want those pieces.
Yeah.
You're talking about building puzzles, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to build something else.
Ooh.
Ooh.
It's that time in the show.
We're gonna build a pool of coffee in the middle of the table.
Did that.
We're going to talk about Disneyland. Build our own theme
We're gonna
park.
build our own theme park.
No, it is time for the one, the only. HOTTAKE!
The build-up.
So this is the most, I think it's the most elaborate HOTTAKE we've done. In episode 19, we had quarter 1 of Doom, and this is kind of a much more, an elongated version of that. So I'm calling this Building the List, and I gave all of you note cards and pens before the show.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is this January, February, and March, of 2017 has been unreal. The number of games that have come out that aren't just good, aren't just played if you have time, that feel like you can't miss this is crazy. And we've said this multiple times and multiple different shows and streams and all that sort of stuff. So what I want to do is I want to take our knowledge that we have right now at the end of February with the games that we've played, and I want us collectively to pick our 10 games that are going to be our game of the year. And then what I want to do is when we get to game of the year, I want to see how accurate that was. So there's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot that's still coming. But based on all the goodness that we've played so far, I want to build that list of 10. It doesn't have to be in order. I'm just saying the 10 games that you think will make the cut.
So I'm writing Red Dead Redemption 2 on this list.
Absolutely.
That's
Get it on.
not coming out this year.
Okay, so here's the thing,
I never
guys.
thought that might be possible, but
I
the
have
more
a-
people bring that up, I'm
That's
like,
not coming out
they're
this
gonna
year.
do
I have a giant list, 3 pages in my notebooks here, of all of the games that I think have a shot of being game of the year. Now, of course,
List them.
I'm editorializing a bit because I did not include everything. But here's what I think in some universe could have a shot of being in the 10. So the reason why I gave you pens and a note card is anything that sticks out, write it down. Okay? All right. So I've kind of broken this up into 3 sections. Here are games that I think have a shot of being in our 10 nominations for Game of the Year that have already come out. Gravity Rush 2, Resident Evil 7, Tales of Berseria, Yakuza 0, Nioh, For Honor, Halo Wars 2. If there's anything I'm forgetting, please feel free to include it.
Digimon World Next Door.
I'm writing it down. All right, so here's what's coming out in March. This is the second segment. Or into February, like February hasn't happened yet. Like Horizon Zero Dawn is on here. But the rest of these are coming out in March. So Horizon Zero Dawn, Torment, Tides of Numenera, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Nier Automata, Ghost Recon Wildlands, Mass Effect Andromeda. Everything past this point is a mix. It might have a defined date. It might not. And some of these could very easily escape until 2018. So this is the vaguer part. But I wanted to include, for the sake of argument, some of these things, even if they seem initially ridiculous. Persona 5, Yooka-Laylee, Injustice 2, Fire Emblem, Shadows of Valentia, I think that's how you say that. Shadows of Valentia. Tekken 7. Dirt 4. Danganronpa V3. Shenmue 3. Ace Combat 7. Crackdown 3. Cuphead. Divinity Original Sin 2. Dragon Quest 11. Detroit Become Human. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Nidhogg 2, Ni no Kuni 2, Outlast 2, Phantom Dust, Project Sonic 2017, Prey, Red Dead Redemption 2, Sea of Thieves, Sonic Mania, South Park, The Fractured Butthole, Splatoon 2,
Didn't really play on the alternate.
Yeah.
You dove right in.
Yep. Butthole.
Fractured butthole.
Star Citizen, Super Mario Odyssey, Warhammer Dawn of War 3, Ys 8, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. The one other stipulation that I have at the end here, no remakes, re-releases, compilations, any of that stuff is instantly excluded.
That's the list, huh?
That's the list. I threw a lot at you guys. We've got to pick 10. I've got 4 games here to start us off that I thought, after really sitting down and thinking about it, are likely locks that I feel good about putting on. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Persona 5, Super Mario Odyssey, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Amen.
Because I think we have to consider our personalities
I
and the
think
games that we
Nioh
like.
is probably going to be a nominee.
I don't know, man. I didn't even write it down.
Wow.
Really?
At the end of the year, I don't think Neo's making top 10.
So I'm more interested
Top
in to see
10.
why you don't
I disagree.
think it is.
Wow.
I think, if you look at the other games, if you look at those 4 locks, we're going to be comparing each of the rest of the top 10, or remaining 6,
To those games.
I honestly think it's going to be the level-based structure that knocks off Nioh. The way that Brad talked about it was very interesting to me. Brad is such a Souls fan that it's just inferior. It's just an inferior game to him, and he sees it as something less.
Yeah,
Why
but
is it an
they
inferior
ain't
game to
Souls
him?
coming out this year.
Yeah, because of environments, because of active environments and active worlds that he traverses through and exists within. And those other games that we're looking at have those things. Obviously, Super Mario Odyssey is world-based,
I told Brad, I was like, yeah, you
level-based.
go back to those zones and they're different. You do them different. Was not having it.
Yeah.
Made no effect on his expression on his face.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't think it's a lock. I don't think we can lock it in yet.
Here's my counter argument to that.
Yeah.
Is with Game of the Year, you have to reach a consensus.
Yeah.
And so he may not like it as much as Bloodborne or Souls, but I would say the majority of the allies feel really good about it. I think it would be an easy game to agree on.
Yeah, I think I could easily see it getting bumped.
Okay.
For instance, I think there's more goodwill amongst us for Resident Evil 7 than there is for Nioh.
That was my very next thing, is do you think Resident Evil 7 is a lock?
I would put it in top 10. I think we're going to look back on it fondly at the end of the year.
I agree with you. Does Brandon Jones?
Yes. Going through on Madhouse mode and living from record player to record player or like tape machine, like having each of those save files, like like having a boss fight that I literally finished with no ammo. Like the last bullet I shot, like took it out. It was like just an interesting thing that I was willing to challenge myself to do in a game that I was not expecting,
I didn't know
especially
you
because
played it- I didn't know you were playing it like that,
right there
Jones.
before the end of the finish line. I was like, I'm just not. I'm really nervous about RE7.
But you have to
I was like,
beat
nope,
it.
forget it. No. All the nerves I had. Nope, that game's great.
I got sick of playing it halfway through.
You got sick of playing it halfway through.
Yeah.
Why?
Just did.
Just did.
I
You
was
can't think
fighting-
of anything that...
I mean, I
Prompted that response?
don't find unkillable bosses that are just going to keep coming back that interesting. And that's like the first half of that game. I really like the aesthetic and the vibe and everything about it. I really like it. I'll continue again, but I just got tired of the combat. I don't know.
Maybe this distinction doesn't matter to you, and spoiler alert for Resident Evil 7. 5 seconds. Every enemy...
I imagine that you'll kill them.
Yes, that you do run into.
No,
Does that change your opinion
you
in
kill
any
the
way?
nemesis eventually too, but that doesn't mean I
it's
enjoy
different
it.
though. It's different though. When you first meet the nemesis, you can kill it. Anytime you encounter the nemesis, it's really, really tough.
Right.
It depletes a lot of resources, but you can take it on right away. That is a difference.
Oh, well, then this is worse than that.
Okay.
I mean, I just think Nioh is a much better game than Resident Evil 7, just
Sure.
for me. But like, I think Resident Evil is very good at that.
Do you think you
wanna,
could
like,
see it within the 10? Not necessarily.
Yeah, I mean like this is me. So like I wrote down 3 games in the for sure pile and a bunch in the maybe pile.
Okay.
And like for me, coming up with 10 games that I cared enough about to nominate this year would be tough.
Yeah.
So like, there's that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think Resident Evil 7, why not? It would be one of the 10. I don't think Red Dead's coming out this year.
I think we got to include it.
But I mean, for now in our guessing, yeah.
Yeah, I think
But
that...
like, I just don't think it'll be there because it didn't come out.
But the thing
like-
is, if it does come out, it's instantly on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
Like, no doubt about
If
it.
it doesn't come out, I'm not going to look back at this podcast and be like, why did I put it on the list?
Right.
So-
Because that is my number one game now that Horizon's out.
Exactly.
I wrote down Resident Evil 7 on here, made it the 5th game.
We can still erase it.
We can still erase it. I am going to tentatively mark down Nioh, just so we don't forget it. I'm going to
Great.
put it on this list, but we may bump it for something else later. There were 2 games that I wanted to talk about. I think the easier one to get through first. Brandon, does Horizon belong on this list? Do you think it'll make it at the end of the year?
Yeah, I find it interesting that they haven't really teased more stuff. Is there like a season pass for Horizon? I don't know. Like, is there
None announced.
like
Nothing
DLC
nothing comes to
coming?
mind.
Yeah. So curious That is the only thing that like I just shoved that game into my face. I was like, I can't stop playing this. But now I'm kind of done. You know, like I can certainly demo it. Like I'm actually curious when I stream it if I'm gonna go back to the beginning of the story, get to past the points that they don't want me to spoil, and then just like play the actual campaign, or whether viewers would be down with like now that I'm all juiced up and I got all my weapons and stuff, I'm just gonna run around and kill robots. Mm-hmm. But like that's going to be a lot of fun. But it's like there is a game like RE7. Like I have more to do there. Like there is a game, like Nioh that like I'm going to be playing. I'm going to finish this game in September. So I don't know if it has that staying power. But man, every moment of that game, I was having a really good time.
Based on what Jones has described, are we comfortable tentatively putting it on the list?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Horizon?
I would. Yeah.
I think it won't hold up to all these other games, but
we might be able to knock it off.
To a For Honor? Horizon versus For Honor.
Well, sure, but like
You think
Horizon
a For
versus
Honor's
Mass
gonna-
Effect.
I did not write For Honor. I think For Honor is getting dropped hard.
Yeah, it'll. Be
I have it on my tentative list.
Yeah.
But we're okay. All right. There was another one. So, are we excuse me? Are we convinced that Breath of the Wild is a sure lock? We feel good saying it will be one of the 10.
Yeah. Even if it's disappointing, it'll still be, I think, in the top 10 by the end of the year.
I think for this group, yeah, it'll be nominated just because it's a Zelda game.
There you go.
Like I think that game could probably be hot garbage, and it would still be our nominee just because the people in this.
You'll hear a lot of language like for what it did for the franchise.
Right.
Yeah.
For, the people in this room love
It's one of
Nintendo
the best
for
games on
some
the
reason.
console.
Yeah,
and-
I love these little snipes that Ian and Brandon are having right now.
But I mean, that game looks not.
See, but what's interesting is I didn't.
I know that was the joke that Damiani said about Horizon, but like it is a little like getting the box art and looking at the pictures on the back, having just finished Horizon, and seeing another character with a bow aiming at a thing, and me going like, yeah, there's not a heck of a lot of detail in that screenshot there, but that's okay considering I just played a, game.
Pop in
all these layers of weapons and armor and all this stuff.
See, I had the question of.
It all comes.
Are
down
we
to
sure
story.
with Breath of the Wild? I don't have it with Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah. Lock it in.
Yeah, Super Mario Odyssey.
I think
Yeah.
for sure that will be one of the.
I think
10.
we're in for a treat. Yeah.
Okay.
I
All right. Well, we're on the same
100%
page
agree.
there.
I do feel more nervous about Odyssey making this year than I do Red Dead Redemption.
Coming
Sure.
out.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
they,
sure.
did
Yeah.
they say
I mean,
holiday?
they did. They came out and said Holiday 17. So
Yeah.
for the sake of this conversation, we have to put it on the
Yeah,
list.
yeah.
In Red Dead, what did they say? Just 2017?
I think they said fall. I think
They
they
said
said fall.
fall.
Okay, if they
2017.
said fall, then they're probably going to push it to holiday, but it'll probably go.
Yeah, I could see it getting bumped from like a September to
It'll get bumped
November.
like a couple
but
of months.
We just
Yeah.
have to work with.
It's going to get bumped.
Here are a couple of others that I really I think could make the top 10. The ones that I feel most strongly about on my tentative list here, Ni no Kuni 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really think it'll make top
Throw
10.
it in.
I
Throw
think
it
it
in.
would.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't need to say any more than that.
No, 100%
watch
agree with
those
that.
Yeah.
Watch those trailers.
Watch that trailer, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else want to throw it out there? I've been throwing out a lot of stuff.
Nier Automata. I mean, I'm surprised you haven't said that.
Jones, I loved you. I thought as much as I could love you, but the fact that you said that right there,
Yeah.
I love you even more now.
Because I just finished Horizon Zero Dawn. I really, really enjoyed it. There were a couple battle things at the end that they threw some weird weapons at me that I didn't have, where I was like, oh, this is fun. Oh, I'm doing a little, this is neat. To me, that was Nier. To me, like, that demo that I played, I was constantly like, wow, what's about to happen? Whoa, my God, what does this button do? Holy crap. Like, just a whole game of that? Like, especially considering some of the weird, like, you can go on mounts and you get in weird mechs and stuff. Like,
I was on board with a platinum-made Nier game from day one, but that demo convinced me it is going to be
need to
something
finish it.
special.
Yeah. I
I know it didn't for everybody.
I
but-
think that'll be. It's hard because nobody's played through the whole thing, but I think it's really going to show up at the end of the year. I want to introduce something actually.
Okay, please.
Assassin's Creed.
ooh.
So the way that I approach this list, I
Yeah.
like this because you could also put Call of Duty on it. Like they're going to have a Sledgehammer Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I thought
There hasn't been
17 off.
All of these things have come out and been officially announced and have had some detail
COD or
present.
Assassins?
Assassin.
They took last year off.
But
Yeah, yeah.
but I agree with you that the inevitability.
They've promised they're doing an Assassin's Creed game this year.
yes.
Time.
Yeah, and I think it might be good. I think it might be the kind of game that it's coming out late. We might compare it to Horizon, and we might say, actually, Assassin's Creed was really good.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
I can see that happening too. I just think the ambiguity here specifically really works against Assassin's Creed because it's been such an up and down franchise, because we know so little, and because this year is so strong. I think you can make an argument for it not being on the list.
All right, well, it was 2018, and you're like comparing our list, and you wag our fingers at us. And Assassin's Creed is on that top 10.
Right, we're gonna look like idiots. We're gonna look like idiots. Hey, no. This is like game of the year. We have to come to a consensus. What does Ian think? What does Brandon think?
I think that this Assassin's Creed will have to be better than previous Assassin's Creeds. I don't think that a great game
If the
makes.
next AC hooks me more than Horizon did, I will be extremely surprised.
Yeah.
Especially considering the theme that I'm hearing that it might be, like the rumor. I'm just like...
What, Egypt?
What's the rumor?
The Egypt? Yeah, that was like the...
Ancient Egypt.
Why are you shrugging your shoulders at Egypt?
Egypt's pretty rad.
I don't need to go to Egypt. I'm curious, but it's not like my brain... Well, I mean, when your brain goes to Egypt in Assassins, what are like, ooh, they could do this.
Yes, Jones.
Oh,
They
we
could do the
finally
same
get
stuff
this in
they've
an
been
Assassins.
doing.
Like what?
Jones, we still have no idea how pyramids were made. We don't know how they did that. That is so interesting to me.
Hundreds of thousands of slaves.
Yeah, but how did they do it?
Ramps.
How'd they shove what
Yeah.
ramps? That's
dirt ramps.
They built mounds out of dirt and
Yeah,
had wood planks.
it's
that they
not
pushed
that
That's
up.
incredible.
complicated.
That's
Ancient
incredible.
aliens don't exist,
Because
although
it's like, yeah, because you
Traveling
think
the
it's like,
Stars,
you know,
Action Bronson and Friends Watch Ancient Aliens, maybe one of the best television shows ever made.
I don't know what that show
It's on
is.
Viceland. It's Action Bronson and a bunch of rappers getting crazy stoned and just watching History Channel's Ancient Aliens. I don't even smoke weed, and this show's hilarious.
But I think,
Anyway.
Jones, there's a lot of cool, like living in that time when they do have that figured out somehow, and there are there's paint. The things that now look like ruins are vibrant and interesting.
Covered in jade and gold.
Yeah, I think that could be so cool, Jones. What game have you played in ancient Egypt?
I haven't played a game in Egypt. Maybe that's
And
it.
you're
Maybe
already
that's why
sick
my
of it.
imagination.
You're already just like,
I'm not-
Egypt?
Well,
Nice.
hold on. We're not talking about being sick. We're not talking about not thinking a pyramid looks pretty. We're talking about game of the year. And so I'm talking about like mechanics. Like when I got into that shows how memorable that game is. I can't remember the name of it. Not Unity. Syndicate.
Ooh, nice.
Like they're like horses and carriages. Like it was fun for like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
like
yeah.
this thing is just not fun to run around. It's not
it wasn't great.
fun.
Yeah.
Shooting a robot in the face with an arrow is fun. Like I will do that. Doesn't matter what mission I'm on. Doesn't matter what you told me to do in this game. That's fun. And like the pyramids are gonna look great, and then you're gonna be, tiptoeing on a rooftop, jumping down on people
Into haystacks.
in haystacks. It's just like, what are they gonna? What's the actual thing? Is this gonna be like a big kind of blowout Pieces of Eden thing, where there's like they're really gonna double down on all of the supernatural elements, considering there's a lot of mythology around Egyptian gods and their powers, what they had and what they didn't. Like,
It's weird to go backwards in time. They should just do the damn future. Like, get that story done.
if it was like a straight, that's the other thing. If this is straight, like, not a reboot, but if they kind of like reintroduced another Desmond, like another thing that like this is now going to carry into the next couple
like
games.
the Animus story.
Like, now I'm
like,
interested.
all
Now
modern.
I'm not
Now I'm
playing
not
that
only
game.
invested in this game, but I'm
See, I feel like
reinvested
we're
in
getting
Assassin's.
so wild with this that I don't have enough to go on to say,
right.
yeah, this is going to be one of the 10
No,
best
this
games.
game's gonna be not.
All right.
But I'm almost playing a meta game now where I can envision that E3 trailer for Assassin's Creed comes out,
And I'm just
we're
being so
watching-
smug
and-
about it.
right? And Kyle's just sitting there with his arms folded, and the rest of the allies just have to sit there and accept it.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, I think there are a bunch of unknown games at this point that will get in the top 10, which is so tricky, Ben.
Right.
When they shadow drop Bloodborne
That's
2.
why I like that doubt though. With
Yeah,
this.
Yeah.
The Pokemon game on Switch could be a straight port, or it could be entirely different, and that is such an unknown issue going on right now.
Sure.
I don't think it's going to be top 10. I don't think it's top 10 material. I want to believe this Rabbids game crossing over with the Mario RPG elements.
Oh God.
Okay, so that alone says even if it's really good, it's not going to be top 10. That's all right. That'll just be one that I champion at the end of the year.
And then we go, oh Kyle.
Mass Effect Andromeda
Yep.
Yeah.
is really worth discussing for sure. It's crazy it should even be a question.
It's crazy
Yeah,
that it should even be a
yes,
question.
Yeah.
It should have been an instant lock, but the fact that it's not is very interesting.
We were comparing this theoretical Assassin's Creed to past efforts, and I think you have to do that with Mass Effect Andromeda as well.
Yeah.
Where Dragon Age Inquisition is a game that reviewed really well.
Game of the year.
Yeah. And it's a game that I liked, but I feel like collective opinion of it has gotten worse over time, and I haven't seen anything from Mass Effect Andromeda yet where I am convinced that it will be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Well, and the cutscenes, like the thing that makes me worried about Mass Effect Andromeda is Dragon Age Inquisition being kind of uninteresting, kind of samey, and like the trailers for this, the really awkward CG cutscenes, like with the pointing the gun and then taking the gun and like the smiles and
Did
the
you see-
faces looking really weird.
they apologized for that later.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They said we're changing it. Sorry, that was a glitch. It wasn't meant to look like that. They apologized for it later. And I was like, why
How
don't
do
you
you
put that in
put
the
a
trailer?
trailer? Yeah. How do you put a glitch out with a trailer?
Yeah. So, it's just,
It just
a
looks
really bad
terrible.
animation of taking the gun out of somebody's hand.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's in a cutscene though.
It was in a
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
The
Or like
in-game
a
cutscene.
cinematic look at gameplay. Kind of.
Right.
Okay.
No, it was a cutscene.
It was
It was a cutscene. It was a gameplay cutscene. Like, but the point of it is, it doesn't look any different. Like the graphics are a little updated, whatever. But like, brass tacks, it feels very much just more Mass Effect, and that gets me a little worried because like, you got to iterate, you got to improve, you got to grow and change, and not be afraid of just doing the same thing.
But I think it might.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
When they say we're not doing red and blue discussions anymore,
Right.
when they say we're changing the way that we're telling the story, I think
Right.
it might, but those are the things we won't know until we play it.
Right.
Unlike the Assassin's Creed conversation, where if it comes out and it's just amazing and it is one of our 10 games of the year, I will be absolutely surprised.
Yeah.
With Mass Effect, I won't be surprised either way.
Right.
If it is
Yeah.
super well received,
Maybe that's it. We're like prepped for both alternatives.
Right.
We're not like hoping one or the other happens.
It could be a 2 or a 3,
Well,
where it's
hoping
like
it's
a
good
wild
always, but-
success or a terrible, publicly hated monstrosity.
that
But
they'll
the thing is-
learn big lessons from and
Yeah.
then apply that to the next game.
what does that mean for our list? Does that exclude it or put it on?
I mean, for right now,
Put it soft on.
Well, think about like big RPGs. Like what was a big RPG, big franchise, big name, big sequel from last year that didn't make our 12 or 10 nominees that we were surprised. We're like, oh, that big RPG. Usually if it's like a big, substantial, important, talked about RPG, it will probably be on the list.
yeah.
I don't know.
I do think there are like 2
well,
or 3 big ones
I
that
mean,
haven't been announced yet.
I think it's fairly big. Like Tyranny didn't make our list, but I think it didn't make our list because I was the only one that played it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, same thing with Divinity 2. I think that game's going to be incredible.
That bums me out so much. Is I think in fact we should put Divinity Original Sin 2 on the list because I am so sure that it is going to be good enough to make the 10.
Tempted.
I put it in my maybe
From what
pile.
I've-
just
when I
for
played
that.
I'm
when I
putting it
saw it
soft on
PAX.
because I'm so mad that just play it.
Okay, so I think in the same vein, we should talk about Star Citizen.
I don't know how to
my.
approach this.
I don't
Kyle.
think it'll be
Yeah.
out by
honestly,
officially
I think
out.
predicting any element of that video game is a slippery, or not slippery slope, but just like dangerous.
I'm going to be the only
Near
one who
impossible.
plays it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be that great of a game critically. I think that there are going to be lots of people who enjoy it very, very much. But if we look at the story it's trying to tell with its single player mode,
Is there a story?
yeah,
Oh.
I think that's when it's going to fall apart and won't compare well to the other games. Obviously, there's a lot of enthusiasm behind Star Citizen, but when it comes time to do Game of the Year,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to
Are we
compare.
hoping
well.
that comes out this year? Have they actually said this 2017 is the year?
What was your source, Ben?
My source was a giant list of things projected to come out in 2017. Again,
Projected by whom?
it was like a collective effort. But the thing about Star Citizen is I agree with everything you're saying. Like, it might be absurd to assume, but I just thought it would be interesting for the conversation.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Like,
that's why I
that
put it
game
on.
could come out, deliver on all the promises, be amazing, and maybe 2 of us will play it.
Well, the other thing is, the story of Star Citizen has been going on for so long that I wonder if the path to actually coming out has just been so drawn out that there will be this weariness present.
Yeah.
That might hurt it as well. I don't know. I'm not saying that is going to happen.
Like, I've been
Just a
playing
thought.
Elite Dangerous a lot, and there are things that are already in Star Citizen that I wish were in Elite Dangerous. But on the other hand, there are a lot of rough edges still. And they just changed, kind of changed engines too.
Yeah.
Ugh, oh, man.
I
I think Tekken 7 might be.
think Tekken 7 totally might be.
Like, I don't care about it, but I think it might be on it.
That's the thing, though, is I don't know. I feel like Tekken 7 might be one of those games that I play and I love, and I just can't convince anybody else to put a lot of time into Tekken 7. I'm worried about that.
That's my Pop-Tart. I don't know if Tekken 7 is going to be group approved.
Yeah, that's what
I don't think it's happening.
If we have one really good tournament night, then it would be.
Yeah, but I think even then, Ben, is what I mean. Like, I think I won't even fight for it in that case. Even me loving it and saying this is a great fighting game.
But what if
Tekken
we're
7
both loving? I mean, because that's different than one person. It's a different vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But on the other hand, like, given our group, like, we don't get super into fighting games often. We can appreciate them. We know that they're good and can be mechanically well made and stuff like that. I don't see a straight fighting game like this ever winning our game of the year.
I'm not saying it's going to win game of the year. I'm saying on the 10.
I think the best that Easy Allies would realistically do is probably just like pity Nom.
But this is so infuriating. I think it's revealing flaws in our process.
That's the human process.
Having played Tekken 7 and seen a bunch of Tekken 7, I feel more confident about it than Mass Effect right now.
Yeah.
I don't. That matters. Like, if this is just right now in this instance with what we have to go on, a better game.
From what I understand, I think it'd be more technically competent than a few of the games on here too. I think it might. It might bump Nier or Horizon or.
When the Last Guardian wins, clearly
Resident
we don't
Evil.
honor technical competence too much.
Oh,
Sure.
God.
We definitely prioritize.
That's what I want to speak to. Actually, is a game that's trying to say something, a game that has a message, and I think that. When it comes to Game of the Year, if your game's about chucking people into volcanoes, it hurts. It hurts your game.
Sure.
It hurts to honor that at the end of the year and say, you are the greatness. You are the pinnacle of video games.
I don't agree.
So what we're saying is we're the Oscars, and we're going to give it to Blindside.
I don't want every game to go for the same thing.
Absolutely not. But it hurts it. I think it hurts it when it comes time to... sit down and say, this is the greatest game. This game is pushing video games forward. You can say, this game's great. It's Mario Kart 8.
I guess the way that I'm thinking about it, though, is when you say it's the 10th greatest game of the year, that's very different. And the tone that you're taking and what you're acknowledging is different.
Because Pokemon Sun and Moon made it into last year's nominees.
Right.
And that was obviously never going to win.
But look at the case of like Bloodborne. That was the first one of those games I had completed. If a Souls game was nominated that year or came out that year, I probably would not have championed it. I would not have. Granted, I was on the Witcher camp, but still, I had a profound opinion on that game. I wanted that game to be brought up, and that was a game that I had not intended on playing. So that was a game so good it pulled me into the genre. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, I think Tekken has that chance. I think that they can do something with that game where it's like, okay, everyone needs to stop talking and all of you need to play Tekken right now. Because it's not just like, I want you all to be into this. I know you will. Like, I know this game is that good. So I think regardless of genre, there is that possibility to grab people and pull them in.
Yes.
Okay.
Or to revitalize one or two allies to be like, no, it is extremely important.
Yes.
That's why I played Nier, because you kept bringing it and I was like, okay, I want to have a conversation with Ben Moore about this video game. We're like Tekken, like I'm okay. I can be okay with the two of you talking. There's not enough there to really pull me in.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening. I don't think it's happening for Tekken.
Compared to something like Nier.
I think it'll get knocked. But
I think that group stream is going to turn things around.
Okay.
That Tekken 7 group.
I do.
That tournament night is going to be bonkers.
I think
Huber's going to play as that bear, or you can play as a bear, right?
Yeah,
Huber's going to lose his marbles.
All right. There is one game. We've got a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, we might need to pep it up a bit.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw very quick explanation. I think people might be sleeping on Prey. I think that might be better than people realize it is.
I was very, very excited for Prey with the first trailer, and the second trailer just made me think, it's just a shooter.
Did we nominate Dishonored 2 last year? Did Dishonored 2 make it in? This is a huge factor for me.
It might have been a nominee.
It should have been if it wasn't.
I think it may have been a nominee. I think
it may have been a nominee because it should have been, because it deserved to be.
Then you can count on Prey.
So we soften Prey?
Wow.
Yeah, because I honestly think they're on that same tier.
Yep.
I think people are going to say, it's really good. And it's like, no, it's not.
Okay.
It ain't going to win.
Splatoon 2.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I know. And I know, Ben, I was reading the comments. I was reading the comments before anybody wrote them. Just why are you overlooking Splatoon 2? It's going to have the best multiplayer of the year. It has the most innovative multiplayer of the year. And the campaign alone is, changed things so much. I'm just telling you, I don't think it's getting nominated at the end of the year for Game of the Year.
Why?
It's
better stuff.
It's about image. It's definitely about image. It is about the type of game it is. It is... The game we're playing right now is which games will get into that top 10, not Kyle, which games do you think are the best going to be the best top 10 games of the year? You know what I mean?
Yes,
Your
that's
personal top 10
important to
is
say.
Splatoon is way on there.
Yeah.
The collective decision is much different.
And I don't believe in Splatoon showing up. And basically, it's this kind of thing where games get slots. You give a game a slot. And I think we got Zelda and we got Mario, and we're kind of tapped for Nintendo slots at that point.
So you're saying people will, if I'm understanding this correctly,
Yeah.
like those are the serious games where those are the Oscar games.
Those are, you know what? Yeah, you can have Mario, but give me Prey.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what that is.
I think, well, and Splatoon is in two camps. It's in the Nintendo camp, and it's in the zany, weird, kind of like funny multiplayer camp. Mm-hmm. And those don't ever perform well, generally speaking, for our competitions.
If we were doing this 1 year ago, I'd say Overwatch, lock it in.
Yeah.
We're going to be
Right.
screaming about Overwatch.
But there's
at the
this
end of the year.
weird perception. There
Yeah.
are people out there saying, yeah, Splatoon is fun, but I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Which is
But hey,
bullshit.
Last Guardian wasn't fun, and I didn't feel anything, and it won. So who knows?
Who knows?
So who knows?
All right.
You didn't feel anything?
Not a goddamn thing other than frustration.
So taking Kyle's lead here.
I don't
is-
have a PlayStation Pro. That's probably the difference.
Okay.
That AI feels much more real on a Pro.
It's not AI. It's
Pro
a
AI.
creature.
Oh my god.
It's a Trico.
Anyway, Danganronpa's
a
probably
living
not
thing.
getting on there. Shenmue's probably not getting on there. Whatever this was that I
Shenmue's
don't
probably not,
remember.
yeah.
Sea of Thieves, if
Don't
it's
count it out.
really fun, could be cool. I anticipate having a blast with Sea of Thieves, but it's not going to be great.
As like a well-rounded product to actually like
Yeah.
give the nom, like this is one of the best
Yeah.
games. It might be one of the most fun games I played
Yeah.
in 2017, but best like.
Right.
I just don't know how
win
deep
for
that
fun.
is.
Sonic Mania, any chance whatsoever?
I want it to,
I don't think so.
but no. Yeah.
We'll like it. We will even
Can
review
you
it
build
well, but I
levels?
don't think it's going to show up at Game of the Years.
Knowing us,
Yeah.
I think it could play to us collectively in a really great way.
Ben, I can see you and I clashing. I'm going for the new Sonic game, the Project Sonic.
I might be going for it too.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we'd clash on that.
Okay.
But I think even if the new Sonic is really good, I think more of us will feel better about Sonic Mania.
Fills a slot.
It fills a
that
slot.
It definitely fills a
Nostalgia
slot.
I'm not saying it's going to do it as well, but it fills this weird Shovel Knight, Super Meat Boy
Yeah.
retro slot that I just kind of feel like is inevitable at this point.
That's a really fair point, and I think that a lot of things you can nominate, and they're just nobody can attack you for them. Like Doom this year,
Right.
You put it
Right.
on, fill in that Doom slot.
Right.
Nobody's ever going to say you nominated Doom.
Right.
Not one person ever
Right.
said that for Doom.
And like
Whereas-
Doom had no chance of winning.
It's so
for us.
simple here. That
Yeah.
slot system they're talking about is so simple here.
Yeah.
Where you go, yeah, Sonic Mania's on the list. They got it, man. They got that feel back.
Yeah.
And you're done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
Can
Nobody
you
will-
design levels? I can't remember.
You cannot.
You cannot. Okay.
Nobody will attack us for putting Sonic Mania on that list.
But over some of these other games, they might.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna go through the soft list.
Yeah.
What I need you to do, any one of you, as I'm reading, say cut.
Okay.
And then we'll have that discussion because we've got, let me count the games here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 on the soft list need to cut for.
Four
and narrow
cuts.
down to seven.
Okay.
All right.
We didn't mention South Park. Do we think South Park stands a chance? That was pretty beloved.
I think it
And I
fills the
think they're
comedy
gonna-
slot.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good slot.
But they're gonna do better than the first one, and everyone loved that first
yeah,
one.
but I think the first one got stiffed by us.
Right. It did, and that's why I'm thinking like Damiani's gonna come in and be like, "This game is really incredible,"
Yeah, but
and then none of the rest of us except Jones have played it. No
I
one
think
believes
it's good.
Jones.
I
it's
think
like-
it could be one of the 10 best. I'm totally on that. But I think somebody's gonna say, "Yeah, the Fractured Butthole. It's funny. Ha ha ha." That's not one of the 10 greatest games of the year. I could see that serious argument coming
Brad
into play.
will instantaneously go, "No memes, no meme games."
Sure, I can see that.
South Park's not meme humor though. It's really not.
Yeah.
I
South Park
just don't see
makes
that
the
collective
memes.
decision
It
coming.
makes the memes.
But if it should be on the soft list, I'll put it on.
And ukulele. What I have a feeling like ukulele might show up. I don't know.
The
No,
ukulele is going
I
to be
think
great,
these are
but the
good.
groundbreaking, I don't
talking
know.
about the slot system, Mario takes its slot.
Oh, sure, yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
room
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
ukulele in a list with Mario
You're
on
right. You're right.
It's a little bit too iterative to me.
The
Yeah,
slot.
that's true.
it. The slot.
I'm gonna put South Park
Solid.
on.
Ukulele is very much just like, we couldn't get the rights to Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah.
All right, Ian, Kyle, Brandon. As I'm reading this list, is there anything else you're scanning and that we're not paying enough attention to? Please.
Okay.
The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, Persona 5, Super Mario Odyssey, Red Dead 2, Resident Evil 7, Nioh, Horizon Zero Dawn, Ni no Kuni 2, Nier, Mass Effect Andromeda, Divinity Original Sin 2, Tekken 7, Prey, Sonic Mania, South Park. Here are no cuts.
Well, Sonic Mania. Okay.
Yeah,
Cut
cut
it.
the last 4. Prey, Sonic Mania,
Well,
South
the last four
Park.
are
Or last
Tekken.
3, last 3.
Okay, so we're gonna collectively cut Prey, Sonic Mania, and South Park. Actually, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think cut 'em.
I think cut those for
I
sure.
like having Divinity in there, though.
I liked having Divinity
good.
in there too.
It's
Because
the,
you-
that's
because-
the Ben Pity slot.
Well, but so you think about where we are.
It is, though.
I feel like there are a lot of those.
And again, like I've been really shut down by a lot of people being super secretive with campaigns, which I respect because for me, you take a hit during your actual campaign. Like near the end of RE7, I was really tired of this family, you know, and I was just like, okay, I mean,
Wait, you're still dealing with the family at the end of that damn game?
Give me a tech.
Oh.
The game's
No.
about the family. The
It's
game's
gonna be
about
about
the family.
Texas. No, it's gonna be like a Texas Chainsaw ripoff, and you get to the end
sure,
of that story, and it's like, okay.
yeah,
The
okay.
game that they were advertising is the beginning of Resident Evil 7.
That's what I was.
Same thing with Horizon, which is kind of like, oh, there's some mysteries here. I don't know why they won't get to the point of Horizon, and then I get it's like, that was your reveal, and it was great. And so I look at Mass Effect Andromeda, and it's like, I don't really know as much about that game as I would like to. And it's like, is that intentional? Is there just some crazy, whoa,
Yeah, yeah. I think there
we
is.
halfway
Yeah,
through,
yeah.
now we're in this area. We even left Andromeda at some point. Whoa. You know,
The whole first half of that game is a training simulation. And you're like stranded on a planet
But at the
by
same
yourself.
time, 2
With the
years ago at
love
PAX,
interest.
Yeah.
I played Divinity Original Sin 2 for the first time, and they showed me that game. They were
Yeah.
like, here it is. Here's how it works. Here's a crazy demonstration about one person's gonna be on one side of the planet, the other person's gonna be on the other, and then we got to this one town, and actually we have 2 members of our party that don't agree on this one issue, so they're gonna fight each other, and they're like, whoa, like,
Dude, Ian.
and this was
And
just,
I'm gonna take the
and this
potion
was
out of his
just
pocket
one area,
and
4
replace it
characters.
with a poison potion.
And they're like, there's so many different, like, they would approach an NPC and they would have each person in the party talk to them, and they were
Yes.
4 completely different conversations. Because one was like, I've never seen your alien race before. Next person, oh, you're the person that left our village and now you've come back to try to do something. You should go talk to your mom. Next
Yeah.
person, you're a thief. I don't trust you. Just like, what? This is just one little, like, 30-minute experience with this video game.
I don't understand this dismissiveness. There are a lot of games. I know there are a lot of games that speak to me that I get really excited about that I know won't speak to the other allies for probably very valid reasons.
Yeah.
Divinity is not one of those games. I feel like if you all played it, you would see the light. I don't understand the pity slot mentality.
I think it's
Intimidating is the only
it's
thing I can think of.
intimidating, and
It's just like-
realistically, there isn't enough time in our human lives.
But I'm gonna make some time.
Yeah.
This is my new goal. Divinity deserves to be on that list.
That is going to be a deep
It's gonna be
role-playing
that game is gonna be like
You're gonna
terrifyingly
get your
deep.
money's worth.
Yeah, terrifyingly
Divinity
deep.
Original Sin 2.
I really think we gotta kill Tekken 7.
Okay.
Okay.
After this discussion, it's dead.
Kill it.
All of those nice things we can say about Divinity aren't going to be defensible for Tekken 7.
Here's my only.
You can punch good.
There are 2 games that I'm seeing on here that I question.
Okay,
What are we at number wise?
In addition to Tekken 7,
we got to kill one more.
gotta kill one more. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
I haven't played it, and Mass Effect.
I really think kill Tekken 7 of those 3.
Do you both agree with that?
Yeah.
Because I can see that. Okay.
Is that it?
That's,
That's
it.
it. Well, let me double check.
Those
1,
are
2,
nominees
3,
for
4,
2017.
You're talking about,
6,
an issue with
7,
Tekken 7,
8,
like the
9,
best you
10.
can hope for is an improvement upon this franchise that we know, whereas like something like Horizon, like again, I've never done this kind of stuff before. So
I mean,
that-
like, well,
I would value that
I get
higher.
that.
That experience I got out of where I was like, wow, that was refreshing, as opposed to like, wow, they
yeah.
really nailed that.
I'm on board with that.
I
but
think
it's,
some late in the year announced at E3 up and comers are
Absolutely.
going to definitely supplant some of these.
But it's I love that we we preach love and respect. You know, we try to demonstrate that amongst us to really figure out like, well, that's why I love Les Guardian, that whole debate. You know, some of us love it, some of us hate it. And I think we really do a good job about, being civil and democratic amongst this group. except when it comes to goatees. There's just no way you can do it. It is
Can't do it.
impossible.
I want to
You are
throw.
gonna piss somebody off.
You gotta throw your shirt off and start wrestling.
I want to throw a wrench in this whole thing.
all
Oh boy.
There's a game that I think we forgot.
Okay.
I think they've said 2017 for God of War.
They've not said 2017.
They have not said 2017.
I was heavily considering it.
Not
Then.
betting on that.
Yeah.
Okay,
If
so
if we think Red Dead might not make it,
but
Yeah.
I doubt.
so we're okay with just
Yeah.
not including
Yeah.
that in the conversation.
If it comes out this year, it's a lock.
But if that game comes out, yeah, buy Horizon. Like,
That's good. You know what? They take up a similar slot. We're talking slots.
Yeah.
God of War's taking that Horizon slot.
Okay, so I'm going. If we were to put these in order, we'd be here for another 3 hours. But I'm gonna hold on to this note
we should
card.
choose a goatee out
We
of
can do
these.
top 5, bottom 5.
We could try to guess a goatee out of these.
All right, we'll do individually guess goaties. How about that?
All right. Well, read them
Okay.
all first.
Yeah.
Read them all so we know what we're dealing
So
with.
each of you gets to pick one.
Yeah.
One game of the year.
Yeah.
The one that we think will win with this group of
one we think
crazies,
will win.
or the one
With
that
this group.
I want to
No,
push
not
for?
not personal game of the year. Although that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Collective game of the year. Who do you think is
all
gonna
right.
win?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
not the one I want.
We're gonna. I'll call on you one at a time so we do that. But here's our 10.
Okay.
The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, Persona 5, Super Mario Odyssey, Red Dead Redemption 2, Resident Evil 7, Nioh, Horizon Zero Dawn, Ni no Kuni 2, Nier, Automata, Mass Effect Andromeda, Divinity Original Sin 2. Brandon Jones,
Yes.
what is going to be our collective game of the year?
My personal game of the year, what I anticipate myself arguing for, will be Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm making the call that Mario gets it.
I like this. Actually, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Everybody do personal and collective.
Yeah.
My personal is Mario. Our collective will be Red Dead Redemption 2.
Well, there we
My
go.
my
That works out.
personal of this list would be Nioh. I think it would be Red Dead Redemption 2 and maybe Persona 5 if Ben yells loud enough.
I'm playing Persona 5.
I think we're all playing Persona 5.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, I hate that though. Like, I think the game is
I was
just going to be
teasing.
really
I
good.
was just teasing. No, I think
I know. I do
yeah.
yell about Persona 5.
I was just teasing.
That's
Actually,
fair.
I think other people yell much more than you do. But I think
No,
it'd
I
be
yell a
down
lot.
between Red Dead and Persona 5 on this list. And maybe Mario. But yeah, Red Dead, probably. But Nioh is my baby.
What a year.
What a year.
Good year.
4 good games.
Ben, are you going to play?
It's pretty incredible.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to win?
I think our collective game of the year is going to be Super Mario Odyssey. I don't know what my personal game of the year is going to be.
Really? Wow.
I'm leaning toward Persona 5.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I could see it being Red Dead 2. I think it would be between those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun game.
That was a fun game.
I just saw some people. I won't call anybody out, but I saw some people that were just like, "Wow, Horizon, woof." I mean, it makes you wonder. Red Dead, what are they gonna do? And I'm like, "What?" They're gonna have a good story. That's what they're gonna do. Let's start there. Start with a little more.
I mean, Red Dead Redemption, I don't like the Grand Theft Auto games. They don't really interest me. Red Dead Redemption, basically the exact same game, and I love it.
Excited for that game.
Like,
Yep.
if you could play as a girl, that would be much better for me, but
Count
maybe.
on it.
Maybe.
that'd be great.
People are eyeing some boobage
Yeah.
there in that crew. So
I'm always eyeing boobage.
You're either playing a man with boobs or you may get your wish.
Yeah.
Send on that.
I feel confused.
We're just beginning.
We did some
It's not
mean
even
things
March
to
yet.
games.
We did some mean things to
We
games?
know we did mean things to
We are
games.
flustered by an influx of incredible games at the beginning of the year. Has not happened previously. Didn't happen in 2016. We had to wait till December to really cap it off.
Imagine only being interested in 5 of these games, Ben.
Imagine being interested in all of them.
I know. I can imagine that.
Yeah.
I don't envy you.
It's tough. Kyle, special call to you. I think the slot thing really helped a lot and was an interesting perspective.
It's also very depressing.
It is very depressing,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
depressing in an interesting way.
That's why Goaty, I think, gets rough, is because
Yeah.
we realize hey, we want this whole process to be perfect, and there's just no way.
We're almost at 3 hours.
No racing game on there. And
Yeah, with
I
Dirt-
think
even Dirt 4 is not beating
I
Red
just
Dead,
again, I
sorry.
think it speaks to this crowd.
Forza Horizon 3 came out last year. I think it'll
Yeah.
be a better racing game than any game that comes out this
Red
year.
Dead will have horse races,
including
end
Gran
of story.
Turismo Sport.
You're done.
Red Dead of course.
Like Gran Turismo Sport is going to be a great racing game. No chance. No chance.
I agree with you 100%.
yeah.
Okay, it's time for the final segment of our show. Wrapping this thing up
Nice.
into this train. Our first email comes in from Steven. The subject is being terrible at video games.
I got this.
Right there with you.
I got this.
Yep.
I was feeling a little of that this morning. Yeah.
Hi, allies. Being bad at video games is something that isn't covered, so I thought I'd pose this question to you. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at video games myself, as I lack both focus and concentration. I typically take too long and make a lot of silly mistakes, which really deteriorates my experience. A 20-hour game becomes a 40-hour game, 20 hours being frustration. Right now, I'm playing through The Witness and the first season of Hitman. I'm 200 puzzles into The Witness and replaying Sapienza and Hitman. However, I feel like I'm taking too long and want to play other games at the same time. How many games do you usually play at once, and which point do you consider yourself done with a video game? How do you tackle beating long games without having them overshadowed by new releases?
I got a hot tip for The Witness. Type in Witness Walkthrough, IGN.
Oh, God.
If there is any puzzle that you're just finding too frustrating, you know that you will solve this if you just put more time into it. Why put more time into it?
What's the reward?
What's the reward? Just look it up. It's right there. There's a nice little line that it'll show you exactly
You
what
think
to
you're
draw.
going to feel good when you finally solve that puzzle? You're not.
You're going to feel good when you look it up and you get all the same reactions of a door swinging open, a little chunk, and you're feeling happy.
I think you're
moving
gonna
forward.
I think you're gonna feel bad.
I
when you look it
disagree.
up.
You're going to feel really bad. You're
I've
going
done
to
it.
feel like, why am I... But the thing
done
is,
it.
just watch a video of someone playing through The Witness then, because you're not playing it, you're just watching it.
Because that's the thing is I like that environment. I like exploring that world.
Then walk around some. you
Exploring
see
is not the word.
it, and then
What do you mean not exploring is not...
You were walking through. If you were exploring, you would do the puzzle. It's part of the way.
I mean, I still do puzzles. I still do the majority of the puzzles, but
Okay.
there are some at the
Every
end,
now and then.
the crooked pillars. I'm just like, this is trial and error. Just give me a GIF.
Well, you look at them first. And
JPEG,
then
I mean.
GIF.
No, I didn't mean GIF.
This is
they
one of
have
those.
JPEGs.
This is one of those things where I
On
see where
IGN.
you're coming from,
Yeah.
and I get it, and I don't necessarily think it's bad advice,
I'm just
but
here to give advice.
I just disagree.
Steven is bad at video games.
Here's the thing.
You want to just tell Steven to bonk your head against the wall for 8 more hours in The
No.
Witness?
Here's the real secret is just stop. If you're not enjoying a game, stop
Right.
playing.
But
it.
you wanna
Play
see the
something
rest of
else.
the world.
But there is a difference, I think, between being bad and not enjoying it, and I do think people confuse the two.
Yeah.
I think
if
people-
you're struggling but having a blast, then
Yeah.
you're good at video games.
Right.
If you're punishing
Well, no.
yourself and no, because no one's judging you. You're not a competitive player, so being bad at a video game doesn't matter. Like if you're having fun, the reason that video game exists is being fulfilled for you. You're good. You're doing it right. That's great.
Okay.
If you're not having fun and you're suffering, then that's the way to be bad at a game. Is like if you're hating every second of it, just stop. Play something else.
I hear you.
Like something like Call of Duty, I feel bad when I lose. Something like For Honor, I don't really care. It's fine. Like if I lost the match, that's okay. I had a really good time running through this. Whereas like,
I'm the
I get
opposite.
competitive in Call of Duty. I think one of the recommendations that I give would be to maybe diagnose a game before you even get into it, as far as just kind of your rough expectations of how much you're going to play. Resident Evil 7, great example. I was like, I just want to finish this thing so I can talk to Hubert about it. Finished it. Was like, that was real fun. I want to play this again, see if I can beat it faster and see if I unlock anything. Probably should have looked it up first. Beat it. The first one was like 10 hours. Second one was like a little over 6. Didn't unlock a damn thing, but like had a lot of fun going through that second time because I dominated that game. By the time I
Sean, you're-
finished it, like
You're on a third playthrough of that game?
Madhouse is playthrough number 3 for me.
Wow.
But
That's
I wasn't
crazy.
expecting to do that second one. So like after that first playthrough, I had fulfilled my expectations of that of how much time I was going to spend with that game. Something like Nioh, I'm not expecting to beat this month, so I'm not going to be frustrated when I haven't. You know, like I'm going to slowly go back in, boot that up, maybe jump to a level, finish it, maybe fight this boss. If the boss is too tough, I'll back out, go to some other area, level up, get some more armor and stuff. So I think it helps to go into something to at least kind of diagnose it ahead of time, so that you can play against expectations, as opposed to just going in blind and then you're in the middle of it wondering, why am I here? What am I doing? What did I want to accomplish by playing this game?
The Witness has that challenge, the hardest trophy in the game. That one you can't cheat. It's
Can't
randomized. And I didn't feel, I did it. I did the challenge.
Yeah.
I didn't feel as up against the wall against those things. I said, oh, this is skill-based. This is not a crooked little pillar that I got to mash my head against. Let's go.
It's so weird how your brain works.
And I
But I
did
mean,
it.
like the other ones are puzzles that you can think through and figure out and eventually get. And like to me, that's why you're playing The Witness, is because you're trying to solve these puzzles. You know, challenge mode was very intense, very frustrating.
Yeah.
And when I did it, I was like, oh my God, I'm done.
It is opposite of what the game intends to do, I think.
Yeah,
I
which
don't know
I think
why
is
it's
why
in
they
there.
put that in there.
What I-
because it's just, that.
What I don't understand and what frustrates me about a lot of the language being used here and the language being used in the email is that anxiety that you have with these new releases, that anxiety of just, oh, I got to do this until I beat it. You're putting all of that on yourself. I think people are really bad at walking away from things.
Yeah.
How I played through The Witness is if I got stuck and I was getting frustrated, I just said, okay, I'll go do something else.
Yeah.
There were so many things where I came back and solved immediately just because I took that break.
That's the
dying to it.
core
That's good advice.
lesson of The Witness, I think, is
Yeah.
go to a different area if you're stuck because you'll learn something somewhere else or just unlock something within your own mind.
And for us, our jobs depend on us playing a lot of things that are relevant in the moment.
Yep.
We have to survive that way.
Yeah.
You may not. So why do you feel like you have to enjoy everything immediately when it's available? I understand that is this weird thing that is generated that's its own culture. But if you're like, just enjoy it as it comes.
It sounds like the playing isn't the issue; it's the walking away. Like, how do I
Yeah.
walk away from this game and play something else because I'm so engaged in it?
And the thing is, I don't even think those breaks have to be very long. I think people think you like have to take a break and then go to bed and then wake up and then maybe you'll get to it eventually. 10 minutes. Just do something for
Wash
10
the
minutes.
dishes.
Eat a
Wash
meal.
the dishes, yeah.
We know the dishes are dirty right now.
Right, they're so dirty. You've been trying to solve this Tetris puzzle in The
Yeah.
Witness, and that's been piling up. Change
Yeah.
that cat litter.
Yeah. Well, and the other part of the question was how many games do you play at a time? And that's an interesting question, I think,
Because our jobs are weird?
because our jobs, I jump around a lot. There's always, for me, I think, one game I'm playing. Like right now, I'm playing Nioh.
Right.
I might play a few other things, but the only game I'm thinking about is Nioh.
Yeah.
I'm a little different than, say, Ben, for example, whereas, I only like 4 games that come out every year.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, do you consider yourself as, actively playing 5 games at a time? Or is it kind of just, I'm playing this one right now, and then I'll play this one?
Yeah, it's gotten bad. When I was in college, I was much better at being like, I am playing this and only this until it's finished, but I just haven't had the luxury of doing that. So I've had to play a lot, and because of that, I'll finish multiple games very close to each other,
Yeah.
and it's not easy to do, and I don't know, I don't recommend it.
Then I'm already stressed through reviewing Halo Wars 2 and Berserk at the same time.
That's just another day, man.
Yeah, just another
And
day.
who knows what else you're reviewing? All kinds of
Oh yeah,
stuff.
that's just stuff I can talk about.
Yeah,
but
but
there are
the-
2
yeah.
other reviews that I can't talk about.
But I think the other thing too is enjoyment versus relevance. So if I play Resident Evil 7, I enjoyed that because I love Resident Evil games, I love horror games. It's a damn good game. I also had the satisfaction, my trophy unlocked for being able to join the conversation. That now when RE7 comes up, if Huber's got some part, I can pull Huber aside and be like, okay, so no one hears the
The
spoilers.
zeitgeist.
My
Yeah.
God, that one part,
And
that one battle I'm having with Marguerite. How do I get past that? So that's also a satisfaction that I keep. So I think that makes it easier for us to jump in a game, play for 30 minutes, back out. Then it's well, at least I can talk about it. So while I didn't finish it and that I might feel guilty because of that, I do have the satisfaction of being able to answer some sort of question about this game.
And I think to listeners of this podcast, it might be more interesting. It might be more fun of the podcast if you've played these games that we're always talking about every week.
Yeah,
And so I can see why we put the pressure on people as
definitely. That is
It's our fault.
well. It's our fault.
That is a good point. Because we do have to do this, but if you want to be part of that conversation and enjoy it more, you kind of...
What if you actually modeled your game library after Ben? You kept a scorecard, and every time we
You'd
were
be
on a
broke.
stream or something, or you were like, yeah, I'll take that game. You're like, oh man, and you
People
wrote
do
it down. I gotta
But
play
that's
that game too.
it's an unfair advantage because, 50% of those are
Codes.
or
Codes,
discs given
yeah.
to me by
Yeah.
people for coverage.
Yeah.
I am really sorry that I have to do this, but that is going to be the only email that I read. I don't want to cut this short, but I promised people that I would get it out in a certain day, and we
bonus episode.
We are bumping right up against that group stream time.
Yep.
And in order to get there, in order to do that, I'm going to have to cut this a little bit short. So I hope you, panel, understand, and I hope the viewers understand. I enjoyed that email very much. That's kind of why I'm okay with doing this. But yeah, that is going to do it for Frame Trap.
We just dipped into mail for a bit, and now we're moving on.
Now we're moving on. Now
Like
taking
one
more-
should do with
We're
video games.
we
Yeah.
will return.
I'm gonna go clean the cat litter. We'll get back to more questions.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you would like to send an email, if you would like to tear at our hearts and souls, please email askeasyallies@gmail.com. If you want more of us, go to easyallies.com. There you can find links to our Patreon, which is one of the best ways to support us. We're also on Twitch, streaming pretty much every day, a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to have big streams for the Nintendo Switch. Blow that up.
Yeah, we've not even planned it, but we know they're coming.
Yes.
They'll be around.
You can't stop us from doing that.
We're
we don't know
doing
what
it.
form it's going to take.
We're doing
It's
it.
an
Yeah.
inevitability. Yeah. But that's going to do it for the show. Until next time.